This is the second generation sensation Brian Hardy, and you are watching the greatest YouTube series of all time, Stu's Wrestling Podcast.
You're listening to Stu's Wrestling Podcast. It's time for British Wrestling's sharpshooter, your host, Stu Harmer.
Just got this feeling.
Warm welcome. Thank you to everybody who has followed and liked on Facebook. This is a career retrospective, YouTube only, exclusive with the Metal Maniac Jeff Miller. Jeff has been around the business since 1990. He was a protégé Jimmy Snuka. He travelled the roads worldwide with Jimmy Snuka. They even ended up in Jordan. They ended up in the Far East doing shows. You'll get to hear so much. There's so much depth to this interview. I didn't have to ask many questions, truth be told. Jeff was brilliant. He could recall everything, recount everything. So here we go. Without further ado, the special career retrospective, YouTube only, as a thank you to my 1,000 likes and followers on Facebook with the Metal Maniac Jeff Miller. Enjoy. My guest all the way from Hawaii this evening, it is the Metal Maniac Jeff Miller. How are you,
That's right. The heavy Metal Maniac coming to you live from the pinnacle professional wrestling with that guy right there, Stu. And we've changed the name of his show to Worldwide Stu. WWS. He is heard obviously in the UK and all over England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. He goes all the way to Switzerland, Taipei, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Singapore, New Zealand, Australia, New York City, and all the way to the beaches of Honolulu, from the shores of Pensacola to the sands of Waikiki. It's the Metal Maniac, brother. Get it right. There's a guy running around calling himself the Metal Maniac with some face paint, and they've been doing it for at least 15 years. I've seen the guy. Oh boy. But nevertheless, this is the real one, the one that was in all the magazines all the way from 1990 to 2005. Bill Apter had me plugged in. Your friend and mine, Bill Apter. So, brother, man, you're all the way on the other side of the earth. It is now 9:40 in the morning, Hawaii time. And, brother, we are rocking heavy and meddling and just, we're banging our heads over here. What's going on, brother Stu?
Jeff, that's quite possibly the greatest intro I've ever had.
Brother, all I know is nobody has to write anything for me. All I do is tell me who, what, when, where, why, and what time. That's what I asked you, and I just hit it right here and now. Obviously, guys today, they got everything writing, and their eyes are reading, and they're thinking, what's to think about? This is Stu's television show. It goes all over the world. And I know the places that are around the world. Taipei, the Kwajaleins, brother. Whoa. For people in the UK, that's way past the Maoris. Way past the Maoris. You guys don't know about Samoans, but you know about the Maoris.
We do know about the Maoris. Jeff.
Yeah, well, the Samoans are like that.
Jeff, I want to ask you.
Yes.
You had surgery.
Me. Call me the Maniac. Don't mess up my name. I'll come over there and squeeze your head like a pitbull. Now tell me my real name. Hey, Metal Maniac.
Metal Maniac. You had surgery. Right, I got it that time, Jeff. Jeff, the Metal Maniac. You had surgery recently, so that was going to be my first one in more current times. How are you after the surgery, sir?
It was nice, easy. I didn't even know. I just thought I had a neck pain because I had surgery in 2001, and it felt like that in my back. I didn't know. And the doctor said, hey, we got to take a look. And all of a sudden, they're rolling me in. They put a stent in my heart, but they said, look, this is not made in China. This is made at the Mayo Clinic in Boston, Massachusetts. Wow. And it's made of titanium. And it will be, you'll never have a problem with this. This is not one of those. from 20 years ago. And he's like, look, this happens on occasion with guys that eat a lot of beef, chicken, fish, and work out. It builds up a lot of bad cholesterol and good cholesterol, but it's very difficult, and you don't know. But thank God, I went in, and they just said if you didn't, you'd have had a problem. But everything turned out okay. I mean, everything's. I'm back in the gym. Everything's normal. I mean, I didn't go 100% dial it up. They said keep it at 20%. Next month, 25%. Work your way up, and within a year's time, you're at full blast. And it's done right. So, so no worries about the tickers, mate. No worries about the tickers. No worries.
Sorry. I jumped in. How did your career begin? When did you first start training pro wrestling? I'm going to go right back.
I was in the music business. I played the bass. I was doing commercials. I was making a very good living. I had not a Screen Actors Guild, but I had a Musicians Guild card, and I still keep that up. And I was doing commercials, but I wanted to be a rock star, And I was playing music, and we got signed to a record deal at the same time as Bon Jovi and Twisted Sister.
Wow.
And turns out the lead singer, who had a voice that was a cross between the guy from Journey and the guy from Rush, but more songwriting like Journey, but the sound was more like the guy from Rush. And he had this something, he could write melodies, and we got signed to a record deal. We don't know. The guy's got a management contract, and they won't let him out. And they wanted a huge amount of money, and this was a brand new group with original music that was coming out. And it turns out that the guy who had that was Tony Bongiovanni, the elder brother of Bon Jovi. Wow. And he heard this kid sing and said, oh, we can't release him. Listen to these songs. Because he also worked for Sony, and Sony was Tommy Mottola. And I know Tommy Mottola since I'm a little kid, when he used to come to the recording studio in West Orange, New Jersey. My family, my cousins, they owned the House of Music in West Orange, New Jersey. And they did all the Kool and the Gang records that hit, from Celebrate to Joanna. And then they did George Benson's Weekend in LA record, his live record, which was a huge hit. Meatloaf's Bad Outta Hell record. These were serious projects that I was around. I remember being around when I was like 10, just to sweep the floors to see what famous people were there, because I wanted to be there, and they were letting me, if I behaved, did a job. And so I saw Cher, Aretha Franklin. I mean, you name the singers, you name the Letterman band. I mean, the drummer from Wings, I forget his name. He played with Paul McCartney and Wings for years. I forget his name. I had too many chair shots. I mean, I met Tom. I jammed with Tommy Shaw from Styx, and I mean, I was around, but they wouldn't release him. So we get dropped from the label, and I go to Florida on vacation, pissed off. And who do I end up meeting was a guy that I had tried to call because I was sniffing around wrestling in the New York area. And Larry Sharp had a school, and he was asking for astronomical money. And Dr. D. David Schultz was an hour and a half away. He was asking for just crazy money. And I was just looking and researching, and I heard in the wrestling magazines that, Florida was a big deal. So I went to Florida on vacation to sniff out. But before I did, I tried to reach out to this guy is named Siva Afi. He was one half of the original Islanders, and then he got the Peter Maivia tattoo. They asked him to do something with the Ultimate Warrior. He said, absolutely not. This tattoo means something. No, sir. And so he just said, to hell with you, and left and went to work for Burt Reynolds. Meantime, I'm in this bar. He's going to this bar. And I tried to reach this guy who was a wrestler in New Jersey, this guy, Siva Afi. And it was so unbelievable. I know who Siva Afi is because I tried to reach out to him. He was like 20 minutes away from me at where my mom's lived, and I was still young. I was still young yet, staying at home. And here he comes walking in the door. I tried to reach him 6 months ago on the phone. Well, he comes walking in the door. I walk right up to him. Hey, brother, man, come on in, man. We'll sit down, we'll eat, we'll drink, and be married. We'll be good, you know, because I was always a people person, and I worked out, and I was the same size as him. His biceps were bigger, and I wasn't afraid of him. I was happy to see him, and he was kind of, you know, like he was raised around here and then New Zealand and Hawaii, so he's a kind, sweet guy, you know. So he's like, yeah, brother, man, how you? And he kind of felt like, oh, I was one of the guys, but I wasn't. I was a bass player, and I was on vacation. And so we start talking, and I ended up staying down there because he's there, and I get an apartment, and I got a job at the bar, and then I got him a job at the bar because he was working 2 jobs at the bar, and for Burt Reynolds doing stunts. And then all of a sudden one day he says, listen, you should do this. You've got to do this. You walk, you talk, you sound. I go, listen, that to me, that sounds like you're describing a bass player like from Van Halen. You know, he had a tough kind of spirit, but he was always smiling, always fun, and the hair and the bass and the jumping around and the fun. And I looked like kind of that, like a Michael Anthony style, you know. So he says, well, maybe you do look like a bass player, but you sure as hell look like a wrestler, and you sound it, and you're outgoing, and you're funny, and you should do something with this, man. But then he says to me, oh, a month later, there's no ring. He's teaching me on the beach, doing arm drags and body slams on the beach here in Hawaii. And the next thing you know, he said to me, I'm going to raise my son in Hawaii. I said, well, what about me? He goes, move. You can move. I'll hook you right in. Let me get down there for 2 weeks, and I'll hook you right in. So, boom, I come down. I got a place to stay, a car to use, food to eat. I got a motor scooter. I had like a 200cc Honda that I was zipping from the beach to the gym, to the wrestling gym, back to the beach, to the pool, and sleep at night, and boom, keep doing it over and over. And 3 times a week, you know, he'd take me to Leah Maivia's ring.
Wow.
And Auntie Leah was like my big proponent. She was a big booster of mine. She told me stories, and every Friday we would meet at the happy hour from 4 to 7 in Waikiki, and she'd have a couple of belts, and she would tell me, hey, listen, don't get married until you're done with the business. It's not good for marriages. It's not good for children. You should do this. You shouldn't do that. And she just would tell me stuff, and I would sit and listen. And she put me on a show. I'd only learned how to hit the ropes, take a bump, this and that. Nothing of any consequence. And she did a show on Maui. I went. There was a couple of Hawaiian guys that were working that were big names here, but you wouldn't know them. And like Farmer Boy Ipo and Super Sakalia, and he was my partner against Ipo and his nephew, whatever. So, you know, I didn't know anything. They're putting me in a tag match. I'm just supposed to walk up and down the side, and get the people going. But no one told me to do that. Morocco was the main event on the show. And he said, hey, the kid's not bad. He goes, yeah, not bad for 3 weeks. He just got here. All I've taught him how to do is lock up and how to get, his body slammed. I haven't taught him anything yet. All this is, it's whatever's coming out. He said, "Oh, that's pretty cool, And after we all hung out, and, smoked a joint, and people were talking, and he said, "Where you live?" So I was, I live over here on the street. He goes, "Oh yeah, I go down there by the gym." I said, "Yeah." He says, "Yeah." He says, I'll come bang on your window one day. And I thought he was kidding. Well, one day he came knocking on my window. Oh man, it's so funny. He's knocking on my door, on the wall. Because it's like a dorm house, right, with all these college kids, and I'm like 27, they're a little younger, but they're all, I'm on a thing to train, and they're doing school, and it was the same thing really for them. And I hear this. It's so funny. Just picture Don Morocco coming to your house, and I'm sleeping, and he doesn't know which room. And it's like, I don't know, 9 o'clock in the morning, and I was bouncing at a job at night till 5. So I just must have got home. I was sleeping, and I hear, "Oh, Metal Maniac, wake up." And I'm like, who the fuck is this? So I look up, and I look over, and I see it's Don Morocco, and I'm like, I jump up. I open the door. He comes in. He's like, "Let's go. I'm going to go to the gym." And I'm like, one eye is up. My brother, man, I just got home. And he's like, "Sorry, 10 o'clock. It's time to go to the gym." And he lights up this big joint, big fat Mac Daddy. And he's smoking. I'm like, Don Morocco's smoking a joint in the living room telling me, "Let's go." So I wash my face and hands. I put on some just, workout clothes and socks, sneakers, boom, out the door. And, he would stop by on occasion, and he would tell me stuff, and I'd listen. He introduced me to King Curtis, and King Curtis would tell me stuff, and I would listen. And along with Siva going to the ring with me Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday morning in Leah Maivia's ring, which is a really big deal, especially now that, Dwayne's grown up to be this monster star, right? And he loved his grandmother more than he loves anything, at least as far as I know. I'm sure he loves his mother just the same, but, his grandmother was a big deal for him, And, just like I said, So I'm listening to these people, and Morocco says one day, I don't know, about a month after I met him, you really should get yourself booked because there's nothing here. And I'm saying to myself, oh man, I sold everything I owned to come down to Hawaii. Now I got to leave. He goes, wow, you can keep going back and forth, but how are you going to afford it? You're going to go independent. You're not going to hit it right away. You've got to, dig in, go back, stay with your family. I'm like, oh my God, I just told him less than a year ago. Yeah, but now you're working. And he gave me some tips about how to keep records for your taxes and mileage and stuff like that. And then from whatever Siva taught me in the ring, which was limited because I was only there 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, almost a year, but only had one match. And it wasn't anything really to speak of. And then I get booked at ECW when it was Eastern Championship Wrestling, just after it was bought from Joel Goodhart. Mm-hmm. And Todd Gordon booked me. And then Tommy D booked me. And all these guys in the Northeast were booking me at probably about 200 pounds. Your money with your money, as compared to it was probably about $150 American, somewhere in there. It was somewhere like that. I don't know the differential, but it was a difference of 50. That it was. So, and most guys are getting $50. Some guys got 25 if they were really like, learning the business, but none of these people thought I was learning the business. They thought I was in the business because of the way I spoke, the way I looked. And they said, I told them, I said, look, Siva Afi, I've met Don Morocco. He's told me many things. I've met King Curtis. He's told me many things. They're all saying to me, I need to be with you now. And they just heard these names and ba-boom. So now I got 16 bookings. I fly up. I got 16, like 2 a week, and maybe sometimes a double on a Saturday, which is like great for an indie guy. But remember now, this is 1991, 90, 91, 90, 91. And it's funny because I get these bookings with the pictures, because the picture that I had is good as this one, but different. It was a different picture. This was as my character developed. But at the very beginning, my face paint didn't come down the chest. It's you see how it's coming down. It was more like right to the chin line. It wasn't as exciting, but it was there. Just the basics. So now what happens is, I don't know. I get there and I get dressed. I get dressed where the punters get dressed, but nobody was there. And I don't know where the locker room is. I don't know. I walk through the locker room like an idiot. I don't say hello to anybody and sit down. I'm looking for Jimmy Snuka because I know he's on the card. I just came from Hawaii, and I bought all these little goodies that you would drink with beer and stuff that you would only get in Hawaii. And I had met him once here with Siva. We burned the dude behind the gym and went back in and worked out. But that was the only one time. So I meet him and I'm dressed like this now. And I bring him all these things, the lava, which is like a paella, the skirt that the Samoans and the Maoris wear, the skirt. And you often Sika wear them. And Jimmy wore them for years, if you know what Jimmy looked like.
Absolutely.
And and so so I gave him all these things, and he's looking at them, and he's like, well, this guy's definitely from Hawaii. He just looked at his tan. He just got off the plane. He's bringing me things only you can buy in Hawaii. And he says to me, brother, sit down. So now I'm sitting with the Superfly, and I don't know. I'm supposed to run out and do an angle to come back the next day to do an angle to come back the following month. I don't know any of this. They've already decided this before I've got there. So I'm just listening and doing what I'm told. But listen, the funniest thing. So the first night, he's with Sal Balomo. Sal's dressed as this like Roman character. And they're going back and forth, boom, boom, boom. Jimmy goes for the cover. I slide in and I don't boom, 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 all this shit. I hit Jimmy once, and Jimmy really sold it. And back then I was in really good shape. So I flexed like superstar and walked slowly, grabbed him again, lifted up my hand and whammo, and flexed. And Jimmy just sold. And then all of a sudden Jimmy comes back, boom, 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 boom. Chop, chop, headbutt. I go flying out. So Jimmy goes to the top again to splash Sal. I go like I'm going back up towards the ring. Tony Stetson comes, whacks me with a chair. That was my chair. That was my first chair shot. He did not hurt me, but he rang a bell and knocked me on my ass. But he didn't hurt me. He just rang my bell and knocked me on my ass. Tony Stetson. Good guy, smart guy, did it correctly, didn't try to hurt me, but he had to hit me. And he figures this guy's got experience. I'm not hitting him any harder than anybody else would, but he didn't know it's my first fucking chair shot. So kaboom, I go down, but I don't realize I pop up. But he was already gone. He hit me, but I was so excited that the finish came, Jimmy 1, 2, 3, and I tried to get back in there again, but the manager knew, don't get in there today. So he grabs my feet, he pulls me off, we leave. So Jimmy said to me, brother, man, come back to the hotel. So we were talking, and I still had my gimmick on. I hadn't washed my face yet, you know, because we went straight from there to there, and I was still dressed, and we were talking. So the next day I see him, I'm dressed, I'm ready to go like this. We're going to the next day. So the next day comes, and there's this big, signing this and that, and a push and a pull apart, and a setup for the next month. And so I go back to the what do you call it, to the thing, and I wasn't working for Jimmy yet, and I hadn't hung out with Jimmy partying yet, because he was just go to his room, and he had food and booze and whatever that he needed. It was like he had a spread when I went to his room every time I went there. She was just that night, the next day, I had a big spread, and I'm still in my gear because we just get back and then go, into my hotel room, shower off, and go to sleep, So he doesn't see my face for the first 2 weeks. So the next week, Tommy D shows him a picture, and he says, hey, this kid, he's from Hawaii. He goes, nope, don't know that guy. So I walk in, and he sees my face, and he goes, oh, brother, man, now I know who you are. He said, you're the guy from Hawaii. We were smoking that joint behind the gym. I said, that's what I told you. He says, yeah, brother, but I didn't remember. I didn't see with all this shit on your face. I only knew who you were without it. So I did something that night that was something that a greenhorn would do, and that was I was working with Hillbilly Cousin Luke, Hillbilly Jim's partner. I gave him a leg across his back once, across his back twice. I told him move, and I don't know what I'm doing. All right, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing it because I'm just doing it. I'm just doing it. I've never put my leg across the guy's back before. I'm just doing it because I've seen it on TV. I figured, let's just do it. I was literally like a backyard wrestler without the backyard. So kind of like that guy with the broken legs now, but not that bad. But broken in the sense that I didn't know bollocks. I didn't fuck all. I didn't know nothing. All right, so listen to this. Now, so when I tell him to move, I take the ball shot of the second rope, but the ring was extended out further than the average apron, and my left knee bopped it, and it just So when he picked me up to shoot me off to give me a clothesline, he was supposed to do an elbow. He was supposed to do this, and then he's going to, splash me in the corner, then splash me on the thing, and then I get pinned. But I hurt my knee, and I had all these bookings. So as soon as I took that rope ball shot, he shot me off, gave me a clothesline, and I said, go home. So he gets his hand raised from big clothesline. He gave me a big one. He gave me a biggie. And he's a big guy, 380, 90 pounds, and boom, he fell on me. When he give you the clothesline, he fell on you at the same time. It was really nice for a big man to do that. And so Jimmy goes, hey, bro, come back to the hotel so we'll talk. I said, okay. So we're sitting there, and I'm eating food with him. I washed my face already because I said, let me just get changed so we can talk without all this crap on my face. So we're sitting there, we're talking, and he says to me, brother, man, let me ask you a question. Why did you do that? If you hurt your knee, why didn't you just say, I hurt my knee, go outside, your family's here, this place is packed, you're just starting out, he says, you're here, you're young in the business, 3-4 years. And I said, no, Jimmy. I know I told you I don't know anything, and can you please help me? But I literally mean I've only had one match on Maui, and I told him the names of the guys, which he knew. I told him I worked with him last week. I told him I worked with him the next day from last week. And I had a match today with Cousin Luke, and that is my experience in the ring. And he says to me, well, wait a minute. He said, how did you know to just hit the guy once and really pull back and take your time and flex and do the most muscular, move your hair out of the way and pulled on your hair, and the hair was hanging out of my hands. And I said, well, Superstar Billy Graham, and then you in Morocco. That's pretty much because I saw Bruno, but Superstar was the guy. And when he lost to Backlund, I stopped watching. I couldn't believe it. And then I heard from a year later that there was a guy beating the crap out of Backlund. So I started watching, and that's where I saw Jimmy do his first belly flop, and told him to move. And they were cheering Jimmy, and they were booing Backlund, and Backlund was going, what the hell is going on? Quick story about that, and then we'll get back to, and then we'll go forward. But, Jimmy told me that Bob Backlund kept saying, what the hell? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? And Jimmy kept saying, brother, keep going. Don't worry about it. It's completely inverted. Like Superstar became a heel, but he was a baby face. It was inverted. They would double boo him, double cheer him at the same time. Keep going. And that was that conversation he told me he had with Backlund in the ring. That night he jumps and he has Backlund move and takes the belly flop. But Jimmy was a cliff diver, so it was no big deal, that feeling of the falling. Mm-hmm. And plus he had been doing the jump since Portland, then down south, then in Minneapolis, and then into New York. So getting back to me and Jimmy, well, he said to me, oh, you're trying to tell me that you've only had these 4 matches and that's it? And you know how to do that? And I go, I'm saying to myself, I don't know what that is, but I said, yeah, that's it. He said to me, okay, I got to help you now. I just got to help you now. You're from Hawaii. You bring me all this stuff. I know who you are. I see you went out there. He says, now I got to tell you, if you were out there for 2 more minutes, just 2 more minutes, I would have figured it out. But you fooled me. And I'm like, oh, Jimmy, I'm not trying to fool anybody. I'm worried this guy's going to, be upset. He's my hero pretty much. He kicked shit out of Backlund. So I'm like, really, I'm honest to God. I mean, really just, and then, seeing the dive in person in Madison Square Garden out to Morocco, that was a life-changing event for me because I was there and it's not on film. I mean, on film, you don't appreciate the immensity of the building at that time. The Garden, I think, it could be wrong, but I think the old Garden was 33,062 people.
Wow.
Including the Felt Forum, which was another 5,000 down below, but that would include, not exclude, but include. So that was a big thing. I was like 3rd row, and I couldn't believe it. I mean, I just couldn't believe my eyes. And plus, Superstar Billy Graham was the first guy. I didn't know human beings could look like that. Arnold came second. And Arnold didn't mean anything to me until I saw Superstar Billy Graham in these little tiny bodybuilding magazines back in the 70s, when he was working out with Arnold. So then Arnold meant something. Otherwise, I would have never, bothered with Arnold. But so that's how it started. Oh, so he says, I got to help you. He says, here's a piece of paper. Call this number. This guy has 5 shows, and I'm going to get you on them. So I'm like, I got 16 already, but I'll have to cancel something. I mean, I don't know what to do, but I don't tell Jimmy that just yet. Turns out these shows were not the next week and the week after. They were next month when Jimmy was coming back. And it was perfect. It was 5 shows in a row, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. She says, dial this number. I don't know Jimmy can't read or write. So I dialed this number and I said, hello, sir. I'm here with Jimmy Snuka. He'd like to talk to you. Would that be okay? He said, yeah, sure. So I handed the phone to Jimmy. Jimmy gets on the phone and he says, brother, Snuka. He said, I got this kid over here. He looks it. He sounds it. He's going to take me to the building. He's going to take me to the hotel. He's going to take me to the gym. Don't worry about it. Everything's fine. But put him on all 5, and you got to put him with me. All 5 with me. Otherwise, I don't want this kid with anybody else. He's got to be with me. Okay, Mr. Snuka. Okay, fine. Hung up the phone, and he looked at me, and he goes, like, with his glasses. He had the glasses, and he picked up the glasses, and he went, whoa. Done. And that was the beginning. And that was the beginning. And this all happened in less than 14 days. Mind you, the week before, when I first went into that locker room, I came in on a Wednesday, not on a Friday. I came in a couple of days early. When I got off the plane from Tuesday night into Wednesday morning into Newark Airport at TWA, Trans World Airlines, for you young people that don't know, they got bought up by Continental, that got bought up by United, but that's another thing. So TWA, so oh shit, where the hell was I? What was I saying? Damn it, I just lost my train of thought. Come on. What was I just talking about?
You're saying about Jimmy, and you're saying about obviously getting on the aeroplane. You were booked on all the shows with Jimmy, weren't you? The five shows with Jimmy.
Right. So he says the 5 shows. So we do all this stuff, and he's doing shows, I'm doing shows, but then it comes together where we're on these 5 shows, and then from then on, it was just full on. Listen, kid, wherever I go, you're going to go. And he was making sure that I was going on these trips. We went to Amman, Jordan. My first overseas trip was like, and I didn't know anything, because when Jimmy said, you fooled me, and I said, bro, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. He goes, no, I would have known 2 minutes later. Now that I know, I can't believe you, and I gotta help you. And then he got me on those 5 shows, but it turns out they were later, and I was flying around doing my thing, and I went down to the Global Wrestling Federation, which is how, when I went to England, there was kids who had the magazine articles. Now, here, funniest thing. So I was saying, 2 days before, see, Stu, you weren't listening. 2 days before I got there to the ECW shows, I leave Hawaii Tuesday, I arrive on a Wednesday, and it's 6 hours ahead. I'm jet lagged, but I drive out to London Publishing. That's where Bill Apter worked, in Long Island. It's the 2-hour ride, a horrible 2-hour ride. I get there, I bring my gear bag, and I go into the lobby of this building, which today, security, you couldn't do. And I went into the men's bathroom, and I dressed up like this, and I go up on the elevator with my bag, and I walk right into London Publishing in my full gear, hair long and blown out like crazy. And I said, I'm here to see Bill Apter. Who can I say is calling? Said, my name's the Metal Maniac, and Don Morocco and King Curtis said I should come here, and I'm here. So he comes out, and he's like, who are you? I said, the Metal Maniac. Don Morocco said to come here, and King Curtis said to come here and take me some pictures of me, because I just got off the plane and I'm at ECW on Friday night. And he goes, come with me. And he starts taking shots, and he had the whole thing set up already, because at the publishing place, they always have, lighting set up. You just touch one button, all the lights come on. They could take automatic pictures, like brr, brr, brr. They were, you know, everything. So Bill Apter was one of those funny guys. You know, Bill Apter has a book with everybody with the finger like this, all the famous guys. He's got a book. He's got a thing that he would do to all these new people, you know, that came to work for him, that were, you know, non-believers of pro wrestling, and he would goof on the guys, and he'd push the guy, and the guy would shove him, and he would fling himself over his desk and take a bump on the floor. Bill Apter used to do this, and he'd get up with something, and he'd say, "Scott," but you wouldn't know what the lady didn't hear that. She see me kick him and bang. He took my hand and banged his head against the thing, and he's, "Call the police, call the police." She's calling the police. I'm like, "Bill, you better get up and tell her not to call the police." He's like, no, it's wrestling. You see, this is what I'm saying. You see how real it was? You were right here in front of you. It's not real. It's real. Okay, fine. So Bill Apter, after that, he is in Philadelphia. And who's my roommate for ECW the first and second night? The guy I met 2 days before, Bill Apter. And once he got to talking to me and knew I was a musician, I graduated music school, I did this, I worked with that one, I was around all these famous people, and I couldn't get into wrestling. And I accidentally fell into it because of music failed, and I was going to go back to being a studio musician, but I wanted to be a rock star. And I saw Hulk Hogan and Mr. T, and the following year, Daryl, you know Hall and Oates, the band Hall.
Yeah, I do know Hall and Oates.
Daryl Hall, not him, John Oates. You don't see it with his haircut, but he's got 2 cauliflower ears. He's a wrestler, 158 pounds in high school. And I was watching WrestleMania 2 with him and the guy Eddie Kendricks, with the original singer from The Temptations. And they were doing some R&B stuff in the studio, and I happened to be there in the evening time making sure everything went right. Because when my cousins went to bed, it was my job to make shit happen. Don't wake me. You know, you're the one. You grew up around here. You're not 10 anymore. You've graduated from sweeping toilets. You know what to do. Okay, fine. So, and like I said, that's where it started. And then the next thing you know, kaboom, I'm on these trips to the Middle East. And Jimmy, they start getting harder core with ECW. And the next thing you know, Jimmy's there. And he sends me to England. And that's where you had, you know, Dynamite Kid, David Finlay. You had Skull, but not Skull Murphy, the other guy, Skull. You had Blackie, another guy that was imitating Road Warrior and a Hawk. I forget his name, but a nice man. Rocky, we were talking about him earlier. Marty Jones. Marty Jones was a really sweet guy, great entertainer. Didn't stiff you, didn't work snug. He worked New York style. He was very talented, very good with psychology, which was what I really liked a lot with him. I got a lot of matches with him. Tony Sinclair, another psychological wrestler who could do everything, but chose another way, the psychological type wrestling, and where, you know, there's character, and there's not just holds, and there's real character. There's real character and holds, but, you know, and then they were teaching me the rounds, how to do the rounds. Giant Haystacks took a really big liking to me one day. I got a lot of heat in this building. And the angle was to come back with this kid, and I left him laying. And when I couldn't get out of the ring. The punters were absolutely livid, and Giant Haystacks had to come out to the ring. For some reason, he took a liking to me after that night. He was watching my match from the back, and he knew I was green as hell, but he couldn't understand how I was getting so much heat. But he didn't see me use the microphone. So I was using the microphone because I was the only American guy, and they were billing it as an American show. And they had to have, for the law, at least one American guy, and my voice was a guaranteed, that's an American guy. So, you know, and they started me out first match. So, and then they had some guy, big, giant, big, tall guy named Robert, who was making believe he was the Ultimate Warrior, and he wasn't. And there were a bunch of guys. There were a bunch of guys that were friends with Dave, with the other Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith. Mm-hmm. But you see, if I told anybody I was friends with Davey Boy Smith over in England, they would all have killed me. But it turns out I was getting coached from Davey Boy's wife at the time, because Davey Boy said, look, if I'm not there, talk to the wife. She knows who to tell you can talk to, who not to. Because I got real friends over there, and then I got make-believe friends, and I don't want you to get yourself killed because they really hate me, you know. And I said, I didn't ask him why. I just said, okay, you know. And he told me these two smaller guys were friends with him. And I went up to him and I said, hey, you know, the big man told me to, you know, say hi to you guys, you know. And he looked at me and he asked me what the name of the wife was. I said the name of the wife. And so, okay. So he said, yeah. So they would fill me in. And then, you know, I had matches, but it was very difficult because it's a different thing over there. I mean, and plus, brother, they had us everywhere from the holiday camps on the weekends to theaters where they put the ring on top of the, they put the ring in the right along the stage there in that little area. They put the ring there and then put the punters on top of the stage. Well, one night I'm going to the top. Some guy took a cane and put it right up my arse, and whoom, and I flew off. Ba-boom, fell on my shoulder, hurt my shoulder. I was like, you son of a bitch. But and then the holiday camps were just captive audiences. You know, these were people that didn't really know wrestling, but were entertained because they changed their ways. They switched on the psychological good guy, bad guy, winner, loser, and didn't do a lot of crazy stuff. They kept it light, and it was, you know, there was no need to scare the hell out of these people, you know, laying them in. So they would adjust how they would hit you. And on those days, you wouldn't work a double battle royal. You just do a show, a battle royal that night. No, a show without the battle royal, but you got, you know, more money for that holiday camp from Brian Dixon. And the digs were nice. You know, they had a tanning bed and there was a gym around. And I remember the first time I went into this place, and we were staying in Birkenhead, Merseyside. Absolutely. And it looked like the place looked like hell, but when you opened the door, it was like a mansion inside these houses that were connected, that were the digs for the boys. So it was like a facade on the outside where it looked like a shithole. But as soon as you walked in the door, it was all 5-star.
It's where my mum's from. My mum's from Birkenhead. That's where she lived.
Well, so what happened was I even remember the first time I went into the Uno's place for pizza, and I said to the guy, "Can I get an iced tea?" And he looked at me like, "What the fuck?" I said, "You don't have any iced tea?" Because no, we got Tang. I said, Tang. Ugh. I said, all right, bring me some tea, hot tea, and bring me some ice in a glass and sugar. And the guy's like, so he goes and gets it. So I could see he don't like it. So I put it all together and I mixed it up and I got an iced tea. Not really, but an iced tea. I said, now come on, take a drink. He says, oh no. I said, listen. If you don't take a drink of this, I'm not paying for the food. And I'm going to get up and walk out. So you're going to have to take a drink of this. So he goes, you drive a hard bargain, mate. And he goes, he takes a sip, and he looks at me and he goes, blasphemy, and walks away. Blasphemy. And they had me driving, an American driving on the wrong side of the road, on the wrong side of the car for the first time. And I don't know where I'm going. They're like, no, get on this side. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm getting on the highway, and I figured you got to go across to the left where the fast lane is. No, that's the slow lane. When you get on, you're getting on in the fastest lane. So I'm getting on, and I start moving over, like, no, you dumb yank, move to the right, you daft cunt, what are you doing? And then I'd back up, and somebody would go, and I'd hit the brakes, and everybody would laugh because I thought I hit something. I mean, the lads, I worked with the Liverpool lads, I worked with PN News, I worked with the Mongolian Molar, that prick. Peter R. Miller, that piece of shit. I'm sorry, I just had to say that. He's an anti-Semite, if anything, you ever heard one. And so is PN News, real Jew haters. I don't know why, but they are. So but like I said, I remember a lot of these people, and they were all so cool, and Giant Haystacks loved me. So here's the story. I'm jumping around. Sorry to do that to you.
No,
but so Giant Haystacks, he sees I can't get out of the ring because the kids are coming for me, and it looks like they're all getting their heads together to come and get me. And I'm by myself. The babyface is gone. The referee, he doesn't want any part of this because he sees it's going to be a friggin' riot. Well, Giant Haystacks says, and he starts coming through, and people are like, yeah, I just got beat. I didn't get beat enough, right? I didn't get beat enough. Here he comes out. No, give him to me. And he came in the ring, and I got down on my knees, and I was begging him, and he's asking. And then he just walked me over to the ring side, and he stepped out, and he had me by my hair. Don't touch him. I'm going to run him into that wall over there. And he took me to that wall, ran me through the door. The door hit and opened up, and he pushed me. He goes, get in the locker room before they kill you. And he took a liking to me, and so did Tony Sinclair. And we had a lot of good, that was a lot of good times. Even a Moondog Spot was there. And as you know, the Page 3 girls were fun. As you know, Chips and the Bees, Dog and the Bone. I know that the Birds are lovely. Yeah. They are very lovely. They are special. They're not like American Girls. American Girls need a smack in the back of the head, not literally, but figuratively. English girls are, a very special breed. They're very loving and caring, but they'll knock your dick off in 2 seconds when you're not looking, especially when you're sleeping. They come out with that big pan, whammo, and they're not afraid to straighten you out when you need it, when you come home from the pub too late. Yeah. And I loved all the, there was booze that they had over there that were really good, like the TNT looked like a stick of dynamite, but it was, you drank it. If you drank it, you thought it was fruit punch, but it wasn't. And if you drank a 6-pack, which you could have done on a hot night, oh, you'd be fucking bombed, snickered, whatever you guys want to call it, just totally fucked up, and then we'd go to the kebab houses after, and get up in the morning. And at that time, you could buy anabolic or metabolic steroids over the counter. They were not illegal. If you knew what you wanted, they'd look at you like, you want this? I'm like, yeah, I want it. And I did cycles, like Ken Patera talks about cycles. They're 6 weeks on, 8 weeks off, 10 weeks off. Because you you got to keep up with the other guys because otherwise it doesn't work. You've got to be a look. Nobody should look the same, but nobody should look like they don't look like they should be a wrestler. You know, nowadays you got guys that are 5'6", 165 to 170, and they work down here in Hawaii. And there's just a couple of little shows once in a while, but not now anymore. But when there was, there'd be a Samoan lady, a Maori lady, 6'2", 290 pounds. She beat him and his whole family, mother and father and kids, beat them all to death. So, they need to be believable, And I was lucky, during the time I was hitting with Jimmy, I said, Jimmy, they got me down at Global. He said, good, go down there. And then I went over to England. Then I came back, and then by then they had gone extreme. And Paul was there. And, there's 4 matches on the WWE network where I'm still the absolute shits. But there was me against Don Morocco, and I knew the man, and he squashed me in 2 seconds. The next match was me against Jimmy, and instead of splashing me, he cross-bodies me out of the corner. I roll over, and I'm on top, 1-2. He kicks out, he small packages me, 1, 2, 3. So instead of crushing me, he gave me to make it look like I kicked out of one of his moves, and I almost got him. And then he just got me. And that was his psychological way of saying, this guy's stronger than a nobody. We're making him a little bit more every time they did something else. Then the following month was 6-man, Jimmy, Don, and Shane, before Shane was the franchise, with me and these 2 other guys. And I started the match, headlock. And they worked the headlock, boom, 1 big tackle. Shane took a huge tackle. Don Morocco took a huge tackle. And then finally Jimmy came in, tackle, drop down, leapfrog, double chop. Then the melee just started. And we all started fighting. Everybody just went nuts at that point. And then they end up shit-canning me and taking it on the other guys. So, kept me strong. When I got back in, they jumped out. And then I worked with the Sandman, and this is still when the Sandman wasn't the Sandman yet. He was wearing, boogie board clothes and the boogie board zip up, with the boogie board. And, he'd come off the top rope and hit you with the boogie board. But when he was a babyface, so he'd come up and give you the clothesline, but like Hawk used to do. And a nice guy, great guy, loved the guy. And, but, Jimmy, was unhappy the way things were going down at ECW. And, he just said, look, we don't need it. I'll get more money and, we could just keep going with our thing because they don't want to let us do our thing. So let's just go do our thing. And I said, okay. He said, all right, but look, this is what I want you to do. I want you to do the bookings because you already call all these people. You already know every single one, the ones that I'm booked on. You have their numbers. So why don't you just call them and I'll tell them from here out, this is where to call. And I had a pager so Jimmy could call me from wherever he was and say, brother, I'm at the airport. Come get me. So I'd go get him, So, and he'd stay at my house. My mom would go to my aunt's house who had a much bigger house. And, and then he said, let's upgrade this pager to something that is more, business-like instead of this. Just you got to make 49 calls. Let's find out what the message is right here on the phone. The lady says, I can't read, but it says they tell you who's calling and the number, and they just call up and they answer the phone. Metal Maniac and Superfly Jimmy Snuka. What can I help you? Oh, guy, kind of booking. The November 3rd. 7 p.m. 2012. Bing, bing, bing. Thank you very much. Okay, fine. And we call, and then they'd send the money, and Jimmy would take his money, and then, I would help him out because he couldn't read or write. And he wanted to relieve his wife of those things because he just felt like, he was missing out on bookings somehow. I think, I don't know. I do remember him saying, I think that, there's bookings that I'm booked on that, I'm not making. Sure enough, we found out that there were two. Mondo Guerrero had booked Jimmy, and he didn't show, but Jimmy didn't know he was booked there because someone else was booking it. And that was his wife, because his wife would just make mistakes sometimes, and you'd have a booking that was missed or double. Because a lot of these people, if they canceled, it would screw you up. So you would take two bookings, you would double up, just in case. And somebody would end up, not having it, and they would send the money for the plane tickets back. But, you never knew what these promoters would do. So you would double book. So it was it was a big deal. I mean, I had only been in the business, a year at that point. And, and I'm already doing Jimmy's bookings. But I had worked at the recording studio, so I had good organizational skills. I knew how to deal with stars. Stars never like to be called by their last name. They always, Mr. Snuka, they always, please call me Jimmy or whatever. They always were like that. You couldn't miss. If I met Donna Summers, I was, hi, Miss Summers. She goes, please call me Donna, honey. I was a little kid. She goes, please call me Donna, honey. I like that better, okay? And they all were like that. I met Eddie Kramer. He's the guy who mixed Kiss Alive 1 and Led Zeppelin, and for the first couple albums. And I said, Mr. Kramer. He goes, Eddie. I said, yes, sir, Mr. Kramer. I couldn't, he's like, kid, I told you, don't call me Eddie. Call me Eddie, all right? And he's like, that's the way you do it. And I go, okay. And he put his hand over my mouth because he knew I was going to say, yes, sir. He just put his hand over my mouth. Good guy. And so, it just, it snowballed. I mean, it just snowballed. We were going everywhere. I mean, I swear to you, I have right now 19 full passports. Full. There's a lot of stamps.
Wow. Absolutely, man.
That's a lot of stamps. And I'm not talking like, 5 or 6 across the book. I'm talking about they had to stick them in because the book was still good and it had more visa space. And I mean, everywhere over the Middle East. I mean, you name it. All the military bases, because the military would hire a wrestling company to bring in wrestling. So there's a guy named Mike Dano in the States, and he wanted Jimmy, and Jimmy said, you can't have me without the kid. He said, oh, I'll put the kid on. I'll put him with you. You guys can go kill each other and have a good time. And that's the match he would book. He'd bring in Tony Atlas and Greg Valentine. They'd have a match, or he'd put him with Tito. And then we would just go to all these, he'd bring a ring and he'd bring a music guy, and he'd set up a little, plexiglass tubes, and put the drape over it and pull the strings for the guy with a smoke machine and a little fan on the floor. And for what it was, it looked pretty cool. It wasn't just walking out of a toilet, and it was, it was good. But then we went over to, who's the promoter in Germany that had the 6-month tournament? Big guy. Always liked the big guys too. Not Oric Williams. It's the other guy. Big wrestler. Big, like a King Kong Bundy sized guy. And loved big guys.
Jericho would always say the guy's name on his podcast because he got booked by the same guy. But I can't remember.
Yeah. It's shameful because the guy's a famous freaking guy over there. He's dead now, but he was a famous man over there. He was very influential in Germany, and it was great because Jimmy didn't have to stay the first 3 months or the second 3 months. He can go in and out. But 1 year, it was at the end of 93 into 94, he said, to hell with Global. That's not the TV you want to be on anyway. He goes, let's go to Germany for 6 months. So we went to Germany for 6 months. This is right after he left ECW. and he did them a huge favor. He and made Tommy Dreamer. He gave him a splash and let Tommy Dreamer kick out of it twice.
Wow.
And
That's the endorsement.
That's a major big deal.
Absolutely.
And he did that for Todd Gordon, and he did that for, but once Paul came in, Paul had some ideas, and there was some miscommunication because we went down to visit them with a writer, but he was also an entertainment attorney. But the minute we showed up, I don't know what happened. Till this day, all I know is Jimmy introduced them as his lawyer. Well, they bugged out. They didn't know why a lawyer was there. He didn't even get the chance to tell them. He came there as a creative writer because that's what his secondary degree was in. And he wanted to write a book about Jimmy, and he wanted to write it around the independent scene now with ECW on the growth. But that never ever got to be said. And there was this argument between all of them, not me. I went back in and I was like, listen, I don't know what the hell just happened, but that wasn't my doing. I'm just letting you know. And Paul was like, yeah, whatever. But ever since then, Paul never liked me, and I never had nothing to do with anything, but everybody got me somebody to blame, But that's okay. So I did all right. So, I'm just, and then from there, brother, man, I mean, I've wrestled everybody. I've wrestled the Barbarian. He was a baby face and sold for me. When he sold for me, I almost had a heart attack because I had never seen him off his feet, but for Hulk Hogan and Jimmy Snuka. Nobody else did he go off his feet. And this guy says to me, as we're going out, he's the most lovingest guy in the world. And he says, brother, he said, you're going to be the baby face. I looked at him. I said, you the baby face? No, I'm heel. I said, brother, you're an executive heel. I am just a local guy. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to do my microphone thing. And if they cheer for you, what are you going to do? He said, if they cheer for me, we go with it. I said, okay, fine. What are you going to do? You're going to tell the Barbarian no? Plus, he was such a sweet, kind, loving guy. He just said, don't worry, everything will be okay. Who am I to question? And at this point, I know how to call a match. Not the greatest, but I know how to call a match now, and I'm more comfortable. And he's friends with Jimmy, and we've been together, just never worked together, so I felt comfortable, like I could talk to him in confidence and say, brother, they're going to cheer for you, And he's like, no. I said, bro, if they do, what are we going to do? He goes, force it down to be, you're going to heel on me and turn me into a baby face, because I don't know how to be a baby face. So, like I said, he just said, don't worry, everything's okay. And I'm on a card that me and him are the first match, and everybody else is a name all the way up to Jim. And it was everybody from Hacksaw to Tito to Atlas to, SD Jones to, you name, every Doink, Iron Sheik, Nikolai Volkov, Bam Bam Bigelow. They had every guy under the sun who was still hot off the TV in the early 90s. And we start the match, and he tells me to give him the karate chop in the throat. Well, I do, and the Barbarian just takes off, throws himself over the top rope, flings himself around onto his feet, and runs backward, bangs himself into the railing in one move. You know how, like, Ric Flair sometimes would do that spinning top, or HBK would do that spinning top? Well, Jimmy would do that spinning top in the corner, too. He'd hit the corner sideways, and he'd flip over the top. Well, brother, man, he did one of those. And I was like, I was so blown away. It took me a second to get out of my, oh my God, what am I going to do now? Because I didn't understand exactly what was happening. And he's extremely, you know, one wrong move, for real, you're done. But like I said, I felt comfortable. And I went outside like he told me, and he said, stay on me, stay on me. And I stayed on him. He told me to throw him into the post. He told me to punch him in the stomach. He told me to kick him in his legs. And he told me what to do. He threw himself back into the ring, and I got a chin lock on him. And I called a couple little things where he just comes up. I pull his hair. I said, brother, you know, let's make it easy. We'll play with him a little bit. Let's just do you come up a couple times with the hair pulls, and then we just go home. He goes, okay. So he starts doing the hulking thing and everything, and I grab his hair. Boom, we go down together. Once, twice. Third time he gets up, and I rake the eyes. I grab his one leg. I try to give him a single leg. He takes the single leg sweep. But a big guy like that, you double leg. And then I give him the Samoan headbutt. I go up to the top. He gives me the Ric Flair slam. I get up. He shoots me off. I duck his clothesline. He gives me the big boot. And you can't land backward when he gives you the boot. You've got to spin so your face is looking up, but your head is towards him in the back of your head, not the front. So you can sit up and go to your right and come into the power bomb position. He hooked me, picked me up all the way up. Mind you, the guy's 6'8". With the boots. He's got C6'6" and they're 2-inch lifters. He's 6'8". And plus his arms are, you know, these are giant arms, long arms, tall man arms. So I had to be about 7, 8 foot, 9 foot up in the air. And he doesn't drive me. He goes and let go of me right here. And I landed, boom. And he slid on top of me. And he was like, ah. And 1, 2, 3, and I put my hand like on his waist, you know, like I was pushing him off, but I wasn't pushing him. I was tapping him like a love tap saying, and I said, thank you, brother. He goes, thank you. I love you, man. You did so good. And I'm saying, does it? I'm like, I'm in shock. I'm in shock. So now I can't just get up. I can't just get up from this. This is the first match of the night. I just worked with the Barbarian who made me look like a barbarian. I can't just walk out of the building. So what I do is I tell the referee, brother, I can't feel my legs. And he starts freaking out and yelling for the guys, and the EMTs are running down, and he actually believes I can't feel my legs. And they're moving into the ring, and people are going, oh my God, what happened? This guy got hurt. The people believe. They still believe, even though Hulk Hogan said it was not, it was choreographed or whatever in 1991. This was 94, 5, and people still believe no matter what. And the EMT guys put the neck brace on me, and they put the board under me and slid me out onto the stretcher and picked up the stretcher and rolled me out, and they were booing me all the way out of the building. But before I left them pull away, I told them, hey, just let me out of here. It's fine. I feel better. I'm fine. And in America, they want you to sign the paper. So I signed the paper. So I go back into the building, but from the back where nobody could see me. I got a towel over me, and I run in. And who's standing at the back door but Sheik? And Sheik was watching the match, and Sheiky baby goes, I don't know, Metal Maniac, baby. A big man do best job for you. I never see him go off his feet, but for Hulk Hogan and Superfly, you better go in there and give him big hug, give him kiss, and tell him how much you love him. I said, I'm going, Sheik. He goes, you better get moving, motherfucker. Holy crap. I know you're a nice Italiano Jew from the wrestling country of New Jersey, but you better go and thank him right now. So I go in and I find him and I give him a big hug. He goes, Jeff, that was so much fun. That was so much fun. You know, and then he's the guy who got me a whole bunch of dark matches with WCW. But their monies was just so stupidly low. It was just so ridiculous. It was ridiculous. I mean, you talk about be on TV for free. It wasn't that low, but it was low enough to say I'd rather work with Jimmy every weekend than to go up there and they won't let me use my face paint. They'll let me use my name. This is the thing. When I got there, Sting was very cool with me, you know, and I was dressed like this. And I told Sting I could do it to like this. Well, Sting heard them tell me wash it off, so I do. And then Sting comes in and says, hey, bro, that's fucked up. They should have let you wear that. I heard what they said. Sting's the man. I never told them. I said, I know you didn't tell them. This was right there. I mean, this happened. They didn't see me. I was hiding. So I know you didn't see me either. I saw you look at me. I know you didn't see me. So you couldn't have told. So it's okay. He said, let me tell them to let you repaint just to here because I want you to wear your gimmick. I know you're close with Jimmy and I've seen you in magazines. So what the fuck? So I guess that really messed up and Barb wasn't there, you know, but I was there for the week and Barb was off because Barb would have said, no, he's fine. Let's go. But, you know, timing wasn't right for it. But still, you know, they gave you $500 a night, you know, and you had to take care of your hotel and your ground trans and all that. But, you know, I had family down in Florida. They picked me up at the airport because that was at Lakeland, Florida, at the first Thunder taping was when I was doing, that was my January 12th, it's either 2nd or 12th of 1998, which is when the first Thunders were at Lakeland Coliseum in Lakeland, Florida. So, you know, and this was all in the first 3 years. I mean, brother, there was nobody. Jim the Anvil Neidhart, Greg Valentine, Cheeto, Rick the Model Martel, Tony Atlas, Hacksaw, like I said, SD Jones. I even worked The Rock's dad. I've worked Ivan Koloff. I'm one of the few guys of my age bracket and age in the business that work with Sika. Wow. And I've worked with the great Samu and Rikishi, or Samu and Fatu. I've worked with both of them guys. I've worked with the Tonga Kid. You know, L.A. Smooth, one of the other someone guys in there. You know, one of Alpha's sons. I almost worked with Alpha Jr., but I had a death in the family, and the guy still rid me. That his promo was so heavy that, you know, I got scared and didn't go. It was like, shut up. My uncle died. I would have loved to have worked with him because I'm positive Alpha Jr., which they call Alpha, you know. He's excellent talent, and I would love to have worked with him, but I didn't get that chance. But let's see who else. I mean, like I said, you know, Rocky Jones, Dave Taylor, David Finley, you know, Tommy Bullington, you know, Davey Boy Smith. And,
how was it with Tom Billington? And I've just jumped in. How was it with Dynamite?
Well, at first, you know, when I told him I knew these people, could you help me? He thought that I was lying and dropping names. And it was stiffest shit that I've ever experienced in my life. I mean, the only thing they didn't do was punch me. And I'm big, I'm cock strong, I'm benching 500 pounds, but I'm not there to fight. I'm there to learn, you know. I asked, can you please help me, teach me, you know, and right away, they don't like me because of that. So one night we're at the pub and I used a calling card and I got Don Morocco to talk to Dynamite. And Dynamite found out I really was friends with these guys. And that they, you know, that Jimmy sent me over there so through Sal Balomo so I could learn as fast as I could. And from then on, there was no problem. You know, there was no problem. They turned around and got Steve Offey, my partner, in as the Maori headhunter, and he came over and we worked tag team. So I got to learn a lot, you know, and you know, it was a great time. I learned the difference between being an American and understanding what you think you understand until you go outside of the bubble in the United States and you get to whole milk, and that's cream, and you go to, you know, regular milk, that's regular milk, and then there's skim milk, which is different, but you know, it's not the same. You know, you find out that, you know, Snap, Crackle, and Pop from the Kellogg's people are 3 different characters in England. You know, you find out that there's no Chinese restaurant delivery. You go to a takeout place where you get your curry. You know, there's you know, there's no iced tea, and if you asked for it, like I said, it was blasphemy.
Yeah.
The birds were great. They were just incredibly fun. There was just so many girls around the business. My goodness, the Liverpool lads, they had women. Oh my God, the girls, the women that were just their overflow were the girls that they didn't have enough hands for, that ended up falling onto me, and they were crazy.
Yeah.
They were just crazy nice too. There were some really fun times. A lot of long drives, and you know, you go around and what do you call in England? What do you call the? It's a circle, but it's not a circle. They call it something else when you're driving.
Roundabout.
Yeah, the roundabout in the garage. You know, and you'd have to go get the petrol and, you know, all the different words and chips and the peas. Like I said, dog in the bone. You know, this and that, all the sayings, and you know, and stuff, and you know, daft and bollocks, and you know, all the you fucking dirty Yankee and all that stuff. I would hear all kinds of stuff. I had dirty. Here, let me tell you a funny story. I'm in Norwich, right? And I'm with this kid, and I'm supposed to come back next month, and I'm beating his kid. I'm beating him up. I'm not letting him up. I'm breaking the rules, just pulling him off the ground. And that would really piss off the punters, you know, if you did that. Well, I come out of the ring all happy and tough and everything. And this little old 70, 80-year-old woman inside this barn that they sell cattle in during the week. They got a ring set up. They got rolling chairs and rolling bleachers with one pan light over the ring, which was the best lighting. And she hit me so hard with her umbrella. And she said, "Fuck off, Yank." And I go, "Listen, it's just wrestling. Take it easy." Wow, that hurt. I got a family. I'm just trying to feed my family. And I walked away. Well, the next month I came in and working the same kid. Well, she's told half the building the story. So now, the next thing you know, they're cheering him, they're cheering me. They're booing him, they're cheering me, and they're turning me babyface. And I don't know how to do that, you know. I didn't know how to do all that. So, it was just, there was just crazy times. I mean, driving on the road and, drinking, and every morning you'd have to get up. If you went to bed at 2, you got up at 9. If you went to bed at 5, you got up at 9, because we went to the gym every morning. We'd all sit in the tanning bed if it was cold out, tan up, pump up. I would always do 2 tans, so I was the tannest guy, because you can't say you're from Sunset Beach, Hawaii, and be as whiter
Yeah.
than the guys that lived there. So I always had a double tan. That was bad for you, but I did it. And it was that. These are fantastic, fantastic times. I mean, I went to. I'll tell you another doozy. We went to Amman, Jordan, and they have a peace treaty with the Israelis, and they have an open border. So they're a checkpoint, but it's open. It's not guarded. I mean, it's guarded, but it's not a wall. You know what I mean? It's a checkpoint. So I figure, okay, that's cool. We're going to Israel, and so we get off the plane. We're in Tel Aviv, and we get to. All right, so we go to Tel Aviv, and then we end up in Amman, Jordan, and I guess the promoters think that you just say wrestling and people will show up. Plus, over there, you can't just go on TV and advertise. It's a military installation. It's not America, where you can, people can say what they want on the news. If the president of the king of Jordan doesn't want you advertising, no one will know about your shit. So that's what happened, because he wasn't greasing the right people, because everything is all about, giving the money, the dole, doling. And so we're supposed to get our money the first night we're there, half, and then the other half at the end. Well, 1, 2, 3 shows goes by, and these houses are terrible. So the 4th night, Jimmy said, nobody get dressed. And you had the girls, you had the midgets, me, a bunch of guys. This other old timer from England, Pat Barrett, was there. Mondo Guerrero, a bunch of, schooled guys, a Playboy Buddy Rose and Moose Moretti. So we're over there. Malaya Osaka was over there. Another girl, I forget her name, she was over there. They wouldn't let the girls wrestle because of their clothing, and because they don't do that. They don't want to see women do that. So they still got paid while they were supposed to get paid. So at the last night, we're not getting dressed. And the next thing you know, one of the promoters comes in. He's like, hey, come on. Excuse me. I worked all night. And it's late by you, and I worked all night. The guy goes, it's 8:00. The show starts in 20 minutes. Jimmy said, well, we're still waiting to get paid. So he leaves the room, and some other bosses come in. Come on, blah, blah, blah. I said, hey, I'm still waiting to get paid. All of a sudden, a bunch of Hitler mustaches with AK-47s and military gear come walking in this room, and I think they're going to kill us all, and I'm the only Jew in the room. Holy shit. Well, the guy, you know how the Arabs are with the feet, and how, if you want to disgrace somebody, you step on them, or you make them kiss your feet, or you want to praise them, you kiss their feet, or you put a picture on the floor, you step on it. That's a part of their culture. That's how they show you they don't like you, is they put your foot on you, So That's why when Saddam went down, all the people were taking their shoes and hitting the statue. That's part of their culture. Well, this guy who's got guns and everything gets down on his hands and knees and starts kissing Jimmy's toes, saying, "Please, Snuka, I don't want to shoot my own people. These are not Americans. They're going to riot if you don't wrestle." And he said, "Brother, don't kiss my feet. Stand up." The guy was so like, he doesn't want me to kiss his feet. He stood him up and he goes, "No, bruh. Listen, everybody thinks Americans are rich, but we're not. Okay? We're just like you in our own country. Yeah, maybe if you transferred your money to ours, maybe, I don't know. But I can tell you right now, we're not like you think. I'm telling you." That guy and that guy told us to come here. We came all the way here. They were supposed to give us the money. Here's the paperwork. He looked at it. He took out his gun. He put it right in the guy's mouth. He said, "You are going to pay these guys right here, right now, or I'm going to shoot your friend." And this is in the Middle East. I mean, I'm having a heart attack. Sure enough, here come the $100 bills. And they paid the midgets. They paid the girls. They paid everybody. And then before we went, I hear my music. And Jimmy made sure the promoter from America got paid too. And this is smart, Jimmy. Before we went out, we both got paid, right? And Jimmy doesn't wear boots, so we had both of our pays in my boots because I had these tall motorcycle boots, like the Road Warriors, the tall ones. Mm-hmm. And I had the money inside both of my boots, taped up. So as we're going, Jimmy said, "Hold up." And they come back. He says, "Hey, I made you sure you got your money. I want you to give him 1,000 more and me 1,000 more. Otherwise, we're going to the truck. Screw you." And they gave us another 1,000 each. So I shoved those in my boots. And then as we're going, Jimmy goes, 30 seconds. I'm like, 30 seconds? He goes, "Brah, gotta get out of here. Got our money. Gotta go out, do it, and go." I said, "So we just go?" He goes, "You know what to do. Just go. You know what I mean when I say go." Okay. So as soon as we get out, I get out there, you shut up and this and that. Boo. Here comes Jimmy. It started to rain. And Jimmy's doing his like Polynesian dance around the ring, and they're all going nuts. And it's in the rain. And the ring was so bad. I'm walking around the ring and I'm going like this, like Jimmy would. And I'd be like, "Man, there ain't no water in this fucking pool." Where's he going to jump onto? I don't know what is, because I don't know what he's going to do now. Maybe he's going to do a flying cross body, because if Jimmy did a flying cross body, it was either because he didn't get his full 1,000 a night, or it's because there was no water in the pool. The ring sucked. So I see him doing this with his feet, and he goes, "Ain't no water in this pool," which is where I got the expression from. And tackle just grabbed the headlock on him. Boo! Tackle, drop down, leapfrog, double chop, backbreaker, splash. And he hit me so hard. He gave him a big one. He put me outside, but he gave me such a big one, and it was such a bad ring. Jimmy hit me, bounced off of me, and crawled back onto me. You know, and then as far as Jimmy goes, look, you know, a lot of people say a lot of bad shit, and they can all say whatever they want, but I can tell you right now, I was with him for hundreds of days every year for at least 10 or 12 years. I had never seen him raise his voice. Now, if me and you spent that much time together, going to the gym together, going to the supermarket together, going to the diner together, going to wrestling shows together, and, you know, spent a lot of time together, you would think somebody would have got on somebody's nerves, or somebody would have been mad at somebody else, and they would have gotten hot. I was the only one that ever got upset about anything. He was like, "Oh, he's brother, man, take it easy. It's no problem. Just go with the flow, you know." I'm like, "Go with the flow, the son of a bitch." He goes, "That doesn't matter. Nobody's going to remember anyway. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it." So I never heard him raise his voice or anything. So when they were talking about him on that TV show, I was very hurt about that because
I can only imagine.
the way that
I can only imagine, man.
I knew from the Vice product that it's going to be slanted in a negative tone because that's how they get you to watch. And it was, but there was a lot of holes that were left. There was a lot of holes that they didn't talk about. Mr. Fuji did a video on how the father was a bookmaker, and you know what a bookmaker is, and you know who they work for, and you know what that means. And was that followed up? I don't know. I think Tonga Kid, who I love very much, I think he's got the day wrong because they were a tag team, then they weren't, and Jimmy wasn't happy about that. And I know Tonga wasn't on the road with Jimmy as often, so Tonga was either driving himself or was with the other Samoan guys, and Jimmy was with the girl. And every time I had ever been with Jimmy, ever, I mean, mind you, Fuji said that. I didn't. So if people don't like what I just said, Mr. Fuji said it on the internet. They can go look and find it. He says it. I mean, but I never had that conversation with Jimmy because I never really ever knew about it till ways later, like in the early 2000s. And at that point, it didn't make any sense to me, and I never gave it another thought. Nobody sat down and said, "Oh my God, guess what? It's everywhere all over the world." I never asked him. I never spoke to him about it. We never ever. There was no need to talk about it.
No.
He was teaching me. He was teaching me. I'm there to sit and listen. I wasn't there to talk like I am with you. I'm here to talk to you, let the people know. But Jimmy was a really nice guy. My mother was a Yankee fan. He was a Yankee fan. He was scouted as a Yankee. They wanted him before he was Mr. Hawaii, before he was the Fiji Superman and all that stuff. Before he was any of that, he was James Smith, who played for the Hawaiian Islanders and was the first guy ever to hit the ball out of the Aloha Stadium, which is where they used to have the football thing, the Pro Bowl. And like I said, I never heard him raise his voice. Him and my mother, when there was a baseball game on, my mom would come over back to her house where she was staying at my aunt's big house, and we all would watch the games together, and they knew all the names of the guys. And he said, "Hey, you want to go to a game? I'll get Jeff to get us seats." I'm like, "You will?" And so he said, "Listen, brother, this is what I want you to do, man. This next week, it's the big deal. I want you to call the Yankees and tell them I want 3 seats." So I called up the Yankees organization and told them my name was so-and-so, and I worked for Superfly Jimmy Snuka, and he wants 3 seats, and he wants to be at the first baseline, and he wants one for me, one for his lady friend, which is my mom, but she was in a wheelchair. We just said it like that so we can get it done. And sure enough, we pulled in. They took my mom in the wheelchair, boom, brought her right to her seat. Me and him sat down, and then the next thing you know, Jimmy's on the Titantron and the place explodes. 60,000 people going, crazy. And then that's when my mom knew how famous Jimmy was. But we never, like I said, I think Tonga Kid got the day wrong. And the thing, the pissing on the side of the road, just the funniest shit. Jimmy used to say, "If you don't pull over, I'm going to piss in this bottle." And I would hate that. And there's stories about guys who would do that all the time, piss in the bottle and just throw it out so you didn't have to stop. And I would hate that, but he would make me stop on the New Jersey Turnpike where there's state troopers. He would make me on the New York Thruway. There's state troopers. He would make me on the Blue Route in Pennsylvania, which goes from, let's say, Pittsburgh to Philadelphia. And you pull over and take a piss, and the cops are going to pull up. They just are. In Massachusetts, many times, in all of those states, he has had me pulled over, and every single time, I am positive there are state troopers in the United States who, if they were watching this right now and heard me say it, they would say, that was me. They would say, hey, sir, what are you doing over here? And they'd say, you're the Superfly. And then they'd shake his dirty piss hand. You know what I'm saying? So, it doesn't make, it's not a far stretch for me to think that they did pull over. It's not a stretch that she did go down lower. And in Allentown, I'm going to tell you right now, man, it's slippery, it's wet, it's slush, it's freezing, and on an embankment, and you're going to go down, there's fucking rocks. Mind you, Jimmy's wearing a pair of flip-flops that he would never wear shoes. You wear flip-flops in the freezing cold. The rest of them would be covered, but he always had his flip-flops for the beach on in the dead of winter. So I see him in my mind going down and getting her. He doesn't speak English. It's a second language. Listen to his interviews. They're terrible. He doesn't interview. If you listen to what he's saying, he sounds like he belongs on that show in Living Color. But he's not really saying. He's saying, the completeness. It's the completeness. You know what I'm talking about. Morocco, it's a sickness. It's complete. I'm complete. And then complete. What are you talking about? That's not even the right word. But that was his second or third language. I think he could speak Japanese fluently, and I think he could speak Fijian and Samoan fluently. But I don't think he would, really was very good at English. And when you did speak to him, he did speak baby English. Not baby talk, but baby English. He wouldn't say the acceptance of the derivative or things like that. He wouldn't use words like that. He would revert to locals. Like if we're talking about food, he'd say, well, let's go grind. Well, that's Hawaii talk for let's go eat. Or he'd say, brah, cow. That means, hey, brah, come sit at the table. There's food here. So that's how he spoke. He didn't, the brother, that was really how he talked. He did, there was not a facade. That was who he was. So if you're going to try to talk to a guy like that under pressure, and he doesn't know that he's talking to investigators that want to hang somebody for something, and at the same time, they don't want to bother him because they can't believe their ears or eyes. And Jimmy, I guess they say he did it. He said a few different types of things, but from a guy who doesn't understand English. Plus, there was a week before or a month before, the girl was running around the hotel naked, and Jimmy dragged her back in because they were arguing. And she was one of those Italian mobster girls, because we know what the father did. Fuji told us. And from all accounts of anybody that ever met her had conveyed to me years later that, she was a hard ass. If she saw a woman say, Jimmy, sign my boob, she would go nuts. And she probably wanted to make a stink attack Jimmy, get all bruised up and trying to fight him. And he's like, because these Hawaiian guys, these Samoan guys, let me tell you right now, talk to the barbarian. He'll tell you the only person in the world he's afraid of is his wife.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Not because, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's how these Polynesian guys are.
Yeah.
So this was a girl, from all accounts, they were together. They must have had something for each other. So I could see her going nuts. I could see him and trying to make a stink, and him going out there in his birthday suit, because Jimmy really was like Tarzan in New York. He never used the telephone but to talk to his children.
Mm-hmm.
He never used the telephone. Never used the telephone. Unless I needed him to talk to somebody, and I'd say, bro, I'm going to dial this number. This is what's going on with this promoter. he wants for this number, but he can't have it. And he thinks he's going to talk to you to get this number. So make sure you tell him this number. So when he say, oh, Jeff, I'll take your number, which will be lower. This is the number we really want. So he would say, hey, brother, listen, the kid said, 1,500 for the both of us. What's going on? 1,500, Jimmy. Well, you better get, if you're talking to me, it's 1,500 for both of us. Now, you want to talk to the kid? Oh, okay. All right, good, because that's what I wanted you to do is talk to the kid. All right, thank you, brother. Okay. And then I would be the heel, but the baby face, but the heel, and I would, give him the deal, 750, 250. So then they'd be like, oh, it's that. Oh, okay, it's not 1,500. Oh, okay. I remember Larry Sharp, God rest his soul. He wanted us. We did him a favor once for $500 at his school, and he thinks he's going to go to Cleveland. It's an 8-hour ride and eat the gas either way with no hotel, and we're going to drive it, 16 hours and work and no gas, and Jimmy's going to make the $500 and I'm going to make $100 for a favor that we did. And I said, we're not doing that. I said, Jimmy's got to get 1,000. I got to get 250, and we'll pay for the gas on the way down, give you the receipt, and you give us that money back. So we'll split the gas with you. Me and Jimmy will stay in the same room, so you don't need to buy two, because that was cool with Jimmy. And, this is what we got. But, there were guys that tried to take advantage, and then there were guys we tried to help, like Tommy Fierro. We always try to help Tommy because we all just got along with Tommy, Tommy Fierro. I'm sure you must have heard of him.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've.
Yeah, so I know Tommy since he's 16 years old, and we've snuck him into the bar. Me, Sheik, and Jimmy, we snuck him into the bar, and his first time he ever got drunk was with us. And I'm sitting, he's leaning up against the wall, and he was tired. And we drop him off at his house, and at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, his mother was waiting at the door, waiting for him, and took him inside. He was drunk as a skunk. And he'll tell you, if you talk to him, he'll tell you he was drunk as a skunk. Me, Jimmy, and Sheik, we're all doing shots of that coconut rum, from Hawaii, and a coconut rum. Mm-hmm. So it's just funny. It's just great stories. Yeah, I'll tell you another one. So I never worked with the Road Warriors, but I knew them real good. And Joseph didn't, like to smoke weed and didn't really like to get buzzed. So I was always around Hawk because I never did blow, but I always liked to smoke a doob, have a beer, meet some girls, have fun. So we're in Atlantic City, and we work a show, and after the show, Buff Bagwell's there, Big Samu, the Barbarian, Jimmy's son, myself, whole bunch of guys, and there's Stan Hansen. There's a big card, the Road Wars. So Hawk knows me from Hawaii, so he's like, brother, man, come on. Jimmy's fine. You don't have to worry about it. He's right in the same hotel. Jimmy, you all right? I'm going to take him with us. Yeah, take him, brother. Show him what's going on. So picture animal. We're drunk. We're walking across the street in Atlantic City with all the lights going and cars going real slow on the boulevard. Music in the middle of the night. And a car is driving down the road towards us. And it just happened to have on their Black Sabbath and the Iron Man. And the car is slowing down, and it's loud. And the car's like a muscle car. And you hear, I am Iron Man, as it's coming. As soon as that happened, Hawk is in the middle of the street. The guy comes to a complete stop because he's going slow anyway. And he rips off his shirt and he goes, what a ride. You know, and the guy's like, holy shit, it's on. Holy shit, it's on. So we had to go back. Somebody had to ask the guys inside the hotel. Everybody got a shirt. Hawk ripped his shirt. We need a shirt so we can get into this other bar. So somebody switched shirts, and somebody's sitting at the bar with a shirt over a ripped shirt. So funny. We had good times, you know. It just, you know, the business can be very fun. At the same time, you know, bad things can happen, like in the Middle East when they don't want to pay you. Mm-hmm. And these guys come in with guns. You know, you go to a place, they could kill you. They could just kill you, and not have an issue. You know, I mean, so, and a lot of wrestlers don't even get the opportunity to go to the places I went to, or be with the guys. I mean, I even wrestled when what's his name, the Iceman Parsons. Mm-hmm. That's digging pretty deep. And Ivan Koloff, that's pretty good. And Yahoo McDaniels, I was in a battle royal with him. It starts, and he gives me one of those tomahawk chops. And I just flew over the top rope backwards down to the floor. And he's like, where are you going? I go, one's enough. He says, I'll get you again, kid. I get you again. He never got in the ring with me. Because I said, I'll take chops from anybody, but not from him. Because, man, Yahoo would just try to really just break your bones. But not in a bad way. You know, the Dynamite was really, that first few weeks was vicious. Until Don Morocco spoke to him, and he was vicious, brother. I mean, I got marks on my chest still. From that. Oh yeah,
really?
That deep.
So he took liberties.
No, well, this is the thing. I'm green. I'm young. He thinks I'm a wise ass. Mm-hmm. He doesn't know what I told him is true. But once he found out
he knew
that it was true, he would tell me, come down to the ring at 1:00 in the afternoon and work out with me. But he didn't want to have matches with me because he knew I wasn't ready. Mm-hmm. And he didn't want that. He wanted to have a match with guys who were fantastic. He wanted to have fantastic matches. He didn't want to have to teach somebody from the ground up. But he was willing to come down to the ring every day at 1:00 and be there and make me hit the ropes right, go over the backwards right, do the uppercut, teach me how to do the uppercut, teach me how to do a proper forearm without hurting somebody, teach me how to do a proper chair without hurting someone, but still enough to make believers out of people, but not to hurt, not to teach, because those are levels that are higher and then higher, but just enough. I just had just enough. So, you know, but if you learn who the real bad guys are, and then you learn who the badasses are, who got big hearts. You don't see it, you just don't. But like I said, I mean, Dynamite was no joke. They double cinched me. And Tommy was just laying him into my chest right here. There's a couple of marks, one of them right on my nipple over here. And man, he was just, and I'm saying, Dynamite, why are you trying to hurt me? Shut up, you fat cunt. Wham! And I mean, wham! And I mean, brother, man, they'd go to throw you over the top rope and they'd cinch you. And everybody would, everybody would come over and whack, 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 or punch you or elbow you really hard. I mean, really hard. Every night until that phone call. And then after that, it was just totally cool. And Bill Apter, he put me in every wrestling magazine in the world from 1992 to 2005. He had me in the top 500 to 2001. I'm in the very first wrestling almanac. The rest of them had not been printed with the correct numbers. Because if you look back at the actual top 500 magazines, and then you look at the years and the numbers that they have guys in, it's not identical to what was in the magazine. Because I know my first year was 492, my second year was 250, 359, and my third year was 250. So and then I looked into other new almanacs, and they're misprinted as compared to the original one where
they were actually listed.
Sabu had been around and had a contract, but was out of a contract at that time. And then me, and then those are the only two guys that did not have a contract that was in that book with a picture, the very first one. And then from there, 1992's Pro Wrestling Rookie of the Year, voted most busiest wrestler of the year, 92, 93, 94. Next to Sabu, I was number 2 out of 10 in a magazine called The Best 10 Heels You've Never Heard of. All from there was a thing called the introducing file in the Wrestler magazine. Most guys wait 8-10 years. He wasn't but sick within 5-6 months, which means 8 weeks prior is when they had the idea and put the picture in and did the article and went to print, because they don't do it the day before and print it. They do it in advance. So I walked into business in January of 91, and then by, summer, people all over the world are looking at these magazines. When I went to Texas, there were guys going, "Oh, this is you? Oh, shit, that's cool." And they hadn't been in magazines, and these were guys that were...
Yeah, man. Yeah.
These are guys that were heavy duty down at Global. There were some guys down there that turned out to be big names, but that were in the magazines. So, and then, Booker T, I never worked with him, but Booker T was down there. He was nice. I never got to know his brother. I only got to meet... Booker T wouldn't remember me now, but you know who does remember me, and I love very much, is Too Cold Scorpio. I don't call him Too Cold. I call him Mr. Freeze. He's Mr. Freeze, brother. He's not Too Cold. He is Mr. Freeze.
I need to get Too Cold on. I need to have him on.
Well, I can tell you right now. I can give you his information. And I can tell you this. I'll tell you, and you can repeat it, because he's heard this from me before. Working with him was like a nice ice cold cream pie on a Sunday afternoon. He was just as smooth and cool. Just so cool. Too Cold doesn't describe how cool. He is Mr. Breeze. That's how cool he is. And I always call him, "There's Mr. Freeze, brother. Look at you, daddy. You just is." Well, what he did was we were working this card in Fresno, California in 1998, 1999, so 2000, somewhere in there, 2001, somewhere right there. And we're out in California, and we're at this big hotel, and I'm going to work twice. I'm working as Doink in the first match, and then I'm going to come out later as the Metal Maniac. So I was making a double payoff. So I work with these young kids, and it's 4-man in a 6-man tag, Doink, and then I do the ass bump on the kid, and just a little one. I don't hurt him. 1, 2, 3. The place loves it. I did the buckets of water, the buckets of confetti, and the silly string. I did all of that. I did all that stuff. So I did it, just like the way he did it. And so I get dressed, and I come back as the Maniac. So that night, the day of, he walks up to me. I don't know we're working together. It didn't matter who I worked with. He walks up to me and he says, hey man, this is a guy now. This is too cold. He's a badass in real life. He is nobody's fool. He is exceptionally talented and expects people who work with him to, be sharp, be on it. Otherwise, he'll just finish you off and just go home, So he comes up to me. We're all drinking at the bar, and he comes up to me and he goes, hey, it's me and you tomorrow. I'm like, wow, really? Oh, man, I've always wanted to work with you. This is great. I'm so happy. He goes, listen, I know you've been with the best, man. My fucking hero. He says, I can do any of Jimmy's moves, any. I said, I know you can. He goes, yeah, but brother, I want a Jimmy Snuka match. I said, well, do you want the A match, the B match, or do you want it all? He goes, oh no, I want it all. I want it all. I said, do you want me just to call it in there? Or do you want me to just go through it once and I'll call it in there? He said, go through it once. I'm just dying to hear what it is. And I just go through the match. I just go through it. I just tell him what it is. Brother, guy's fantastic. The guy's just fantastic.
He was ahead of his time. I said that when I was a kid, when I used to watch him. He was just incredible, and he's still going. He's still going now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's still going, and there are certain people on this earth who are extremely special.
Mm-hmm.
He is one of them. Not just because of how humble he is out of the ring, but because he is so talented and is humble. It's a double positive. And if you can't get along with this man, seriously, there's something wrong with you, because he is just, he's just fun. I mean, he doesn't get up in the morning and say, fucking coffee sucks. He doesn't say that. He gets up in the morning and he's like, man, it's good to be alive. That's him. He doesn't wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to say, fuck the world. I hate everybody. He's not that kind of guy. He's just cool. He's just cool, So if you can't get along with him, but whatever. So, a great guy. But getting back to the Jimmy thing, I think when Tonga Kid said what he said, you could see there was tears in his eyes. It wasn't a joke. And his heart was in his interview. I just think he misremembers the day, and those things of the peeing do make sense. And if you add that to the fact that what Fuji said, and that I never spoke to Jimmy about it, which was, first of all, it wasn't my business. Second, I didn't actively think, oh, don't talk to him about it. It wasn't on my freaking mind.
Mm-hmm.
I was too involved with what was going on with me. When you're an athlete, everything's about me. So, and then when you're with other athletes, you've got to share the spotlight with everybody's me. So, but like I said, I mean, I just think it was just, he forgot, but his heart obviously was in it. For Don Rocco to say he really didn't know him, I think Don Morocco's a wonderful guy. I think he's one of the best brains in the business. I think he's got a brain like Jim Cornette in his own way, believe it or not. And that's a big deal, because Jim Cornette's brain is big.
Unbelievable.
And Don's is like that. He's just very quiet about it. I mean, he used to do all the writing for the TVs for a very long time back in the day with the WWF. And then the WWF, he was always the one they went to, for, what do you want to do for the high shot? What do you want to do for this spot? How do you want to drag this around? How do you want to bring it around? So listen, Hawaii is very small, and Jimmy was Mr. Hawaii, and all the wrestlers and the bodybuilders used to work at the same gym. I don't know if Don Morocco, when he was a kid, lived on the North Shore or not. I have no idea. And it's like 20 minutes away. And maybe he didn't know him for a little while if he lived out there. But if you're going to the same gym, surfing in the same places, eating the same food, friends with the same guys, chances are you're probably going to be friendly. And then you go to Portland, he goes to Portland. You go to Cal Palace, he's at the Cal Palace. You go to down to Florida, he's in Florida, then he's in Mid-South, then you go to Minneapolis, then he's in Minneapolis, and then you go to New York. You know, you guys know each other. What I don't understand what that was about, that he didn't really know him. Or I don't know who it was, and it doesn't matter. Somebody said he didn't get the Hulk Hogan push, but before there was a Hulk Hogan, that WWE building was in the Guinness Book of World Records for something that it had to do with audio video. This is back when audio video was just exploding, and it was in the Guinness Book of World Records, and all that was built on Jimmy's back. You know, there was 3 teams, but not until Tito popped, and not until Hulk Hogan popped with the movie and came back. Jimmy was the main guy. Hulk left, came back. There's matches of Hulk and Jimmy against Morocco and Orton at the Boston Gardens. That was an excellent match, but those matches were after the cage match. All of those matches, and then the next day after the cage match, the USA channel was signed, and I don't have cable right now because I work too much. I don't even bother. I just watch my phone and my favorite TV shows on the smart TV. But I know that the USA channel in the United States, you know, still to this day has that contract from that splash.
Absolutely.
From that splash. So that's a big deal. So he was the first guy with a doll and the first guy with Nerf fingers. Now, mind you, he wasn't in movies because the only movie opportunities there were for wrestlers were like what Peter Maivia did. He did the 007 movie, you know, where he plays the heel in the corner. They're all quiet and then, Rawr! But other than that, there was no Arnold. There was no movies, you know. So really, for his time, he was the Hulk Hogan. Oh, and by the way, $20,000 weeks. I'll have you know that Jimmy told me, and I believe him, that there were $40,000 weeks, not 20. There were $40,000 weeks. $40,000 weeks. Weeks and weeks. There were 3 teams. Hulk's team with the strap. There was Jimmy's team. There was Tito's team. And Hulk's team was always in second or third. Jimmy's team always grossed more. They just did because they just knew what he was going to do was jump off the rope, and everybody wanted to see that. But then once Jimmy left, you know, over money and the bullshit, really, Jimmy was booked to be inside the ring. Most people don't know it. He was booked to be inside the ring. And before they even got to advertise it more than once, it was switched, and nobody said a word. Because you know how Vince is. Don't worry about it. Just switch it. Nobody said it up. Just switch it. Because they weren't down the road. They were nowhere near doing it. They were just talking about it. And Jimmy and the Angle, and then Mr. T started doing interviews. But Mr. T was supposed to be there to keep Bob Orton away. He wasn't supposed to be in the ring. People forget that because it was only for a half a minute. And then Jimmy knew he was leaving. He told them that and didn't want to get involved in a program he would not finish. And that wasn't what Jimmy was about. He was about business. He couldn't read or write, but he could count. And he knew what business was. And, you know, once Vince Sr. died, Vince Jr. had other ideas as to, you know, what he was going to do. And I guess they just didn't jive, and he wanted out. So he left the first time. Then he came back in 1990 into 91. He put over The Undertaker and a couple of the other great guys. And then he went right to ECW, and that's where I met him, picked up there. But, you know, it's funny. I mean, it's just so many funny stories. I mean, brother, man, so many funny stories with him, you know. I mean, And plus, he couldn't go anywhere. He couldn't go anywhere. If we went to the supermarket, people would freak out. They would freak. Yeah, but the crowd was a little older, so they wouldn't run so fast. And the little young, then the young ones were very young, like 5-year-olds, so it was okay. And then there was a lot of women that would run over. Those were the most aggressive, were the women. But the men were more nonchalant. But one day we're sitting in an American diner, eggs, toast, coffee, juice. And a guy, Jimmy's age, sees him, comes over, and literally sits into the booth where Jimmy's sitting and kind of puts his hand on Jimmy's thigh and his waist and slides Jimmy over. And he's like, Jimmy and I go to get up. And he's like, no, brother. Take it easy. Because I'm about to grab the guy by his throat and throw him that fuck out of the place. Because, you got to be protective. I mean, you don't know who's going to do what. They're going to try to hurt him. You can't do that. And the guy came from behind Jimmy, so it caught him off guard. And I didn't see it coming. I see the guy walking, but then all of a sudden he hooks left. And I see the hands, and I'm moving. And he's like, no, it's okay. He's like, brother Jimmy, I love you so much, Jimmy. He said, brother, man, go to the car and get an 8x10. And he'd sign it. Gave it to the guy. I said, brah, why did you let the guy have an autograph? He just almost attacked you, He goes, brother, this is what makes me, is the people. It's not other people. It's those people. Those people are the ones. Those people are the ones that made me who I am. You gotta love them. You gotta give them everything you can, because they all know somebody. And if it's a bad experience, they're gonna tell everybody they know. And if it's a good experience, they're gonna tell everybody they know, and then everybody else that those people know. So, like I said, I mean, I just think that it was another show for them to jump on the bandwagon. I think a lot of people really just love to get on there and hate. And this is how I feel. If you want to hate somebody, go ahead. It's a free world. You want to hate, go ahead. But in the end, that attitude is not going to happen. People could say, yeah, but he did this. First of all, none of us were there. And second, and more importantly, knowing what I've put together for you. And the Munchnick guy, the Munchnick guy? Mm-hmm. The Munchnick guy says on the show that his father or uncle was the one originally who wrote about Jimmy and didn't like Jimmy. And that went across to this either son or nephew who's in his 50s or 60s now. Mm-hmm. And he says he has all these opinions, but the guys who did the work were from the Morning Call in Pennsylvania. And so he pretty much was saying, I think I know about stuff, but I don't know shit. And he was on the show. Carol Snuka, Jimmy's latest wife, his last wife, was on it. And she said what I thought was correct, that Tonga Kid just forgets. Mm-hmm. Because, there's so many stories I can tell you. One is blending into the other, and I got to separate them. Say, no, that's one, that's the other. So it would be too easy to just say, you know what, he just forgets the day. Yes, he was with Jimmy, but not on that particular day, because by then they had gone their separate ways, mm-hmm. and there was not a tag team. And they even say in the show that nobody wanted to drive Jimmy and babysit him. They wanted. So the girl said she would do it. And so she was doing it. And because Jimmy couldn't read or write, and he needed to get to a building and a gym, and he needed someone to be his man Friday, pretty much. To drive him and take him, because he didn't have a driver's license. He didn't know what exit to get off. He couldn't read the signs, Chelmsford, Hamilton, next exit. If you can't read it, you're not going to get off. You're just going to keep driving. So he needed someone with him. He didn't need someone to feed him and clothe him
No,
and
no,
wash him.
no.
You know, he needed someone to just make sure he got where he needed to go, you know. And he would do things like he'd sit with a menu, and a lady would come over and he said, "Honey, do you have, steak with your peppers and onions?" "Sure, it's the number 2. He says, "Oh, well, what's it come with?" She said, "Well," she's pointing. "Oh, well, it comes with this and that." He goes, "And what else? Can I have that too?" "Okay, and I'll have that." And then he closes it. He wouldn't let them steer him to the book. He would steer them to tell him what he wanted to eat. Same like in a Subway. This is how I found out. We went into a Subway and he asked the lady, "Do you have tuna, dear?" And she said, "Yeah, number 7. He goes, "Oh, okay. Can I get a big tuna then? With all the vegetables, please?" "Oh, okay, thank you." That's how I realized, oh, he doesn't know. But I never said to him, "Bro." And then later on, and there's another thing. You know, I don't know if did you read Jimmy's biography?
I've not. To be fair, Jeff, I've not. That's one I need to read. I will.
You should read it. You know why? I say you should read it. You know why you should read it? Not for this other stuff, but for the positive stuff. But also, I'm in it. Now, I haven't read it because it was my life. I lived it.
Yeah.
I lived it. So I don't know what's in it, but I'm sure I can give you all the backstories on whatever is in it when it came to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I did see a quote where he said that, "Oh, Jeff was from Hawaii and we made some money together." But I said to Carol, "Oh, I was only in the book a little bit." She goes, "What are you talking about? You're like a whole chapter." I'm like, "Really?"
Man.
I said, "Was it good?" She goes, "Yeah, it was good." I mean, but I don't know if it was good, bad, because the writer who was doing it with Jimmy, those words weren't Jimmy's words. Those were his words, this guy. So for all I know, Jimmy could have said something totally different, and he wrote what he wrote. But I don't know because I didn't read it. I have to see, what was said and what was done. But like I said, I didn't read it because excuse me, I lived it. I lived it, brother. And I got to work with the Honky Tonk Man. I'm in Wildwood, New Jersey, for the NWA New Jersey at the time. Honky Tonk walks in. He sees he's going to be working with Big Vito. Now, he knows Big Vito has respect for the old timers, but Big Vito likes to go, and he can do it all day. And a lot of guys don't want to do that style. And Honky had a bad leg injury on his thigh, and he wasn't in no mood. And he came in and saw the card, and he went to the promoters, and he said, "I'm working with the Metal Maniac, or I'm leaving." He said, "Oh, yeah, but our belt." He said, "Listen, there's only one belt in the world that matters. Everything else is bullshit. Now, if you want me to stay, I work with him or I leave." "Oh, okay. So they changed the card. So there's one corner of this big event center that's packed. They're all packed, but there's this one corner that are ECW hardcores that will do the boring, right? So I don't know this. So it seems pretty good, man. They're loving Honky, and we're doing the first spot, and blah, blah, blah. We end up outside, and I take over on them, and I get him inside, and all of a sudden, it's boring. And I give him a clothesline. I pick him up. I give him an elbow. I pick him up. I said, "Honky, let me just snap you over here." He said, "Okay." Snap him over, and I yell out. Place is packed loud. But only those guys over in that corner could really hear me because I pointed my face right towards them, and I go, "You want to see boring?" And I put the clamp, the Alpha and Sika clamp on his neck, and I said to Honky, I go, "Honky, I want you to die for me, brother." And he goes, So he lays down, and I yell at him, "We will sit here all day. We run the show. You do not. Fall in line, or we will just lay here. See how long before these people figure it out and come after you." Sure enough, that crap stopped. And Honky's like, "Damn, man, I never seen anybody do that before. That was great." And just tell them like it is. We'll just lay here all night. Fuck you. and you know, I mean, I worked with King Kong Bundy. I had several matches with him, and every one of them, he took a huge bump from me in the middle, one big bump. And I said to him, "But you can't just take a bump. You got to let me close on you. You got to let me close on you. And then I'll get off the second rope and I'll close on you." And he goes, "You're the Metal Maniac. If you can't knock me down, how are you supposed to work with all these other guys?" He says, "I got to do this, and I don't want you to have to work that hard for it." He said, "Try to slam me once. I'll hit you in the back. Hit me. Try to slam me again. I'll stop you. I'll hit you. Come back and clothesline me once, twice. Hit the rope 3 times. Then I'll go down. You don't have to jump off the second ropes. That's bullshit. Just I'll take a bump." And he did. And the place they turned him babyface. And he splashed me. And they cheered him. 5 count. But you know what? He put his hand on your chest. So when he got up, he pressed down on you. You'd be like, "Oh." To get up, he needed a little, you know. I worked with Greg Valentine. He chopped me in the mouth. I said to the Barbarian, "Barb, can you believe it? Greg Valentine, an ultra pro, chopped me in my mouth." I mean, I know I was leaning forward, but, you know, my chin was up and we trying to hit you in the mouth for it. But Greg can't see either without his glasses, you know? So, but I said, "Barb, he chopped me in the mouth." She said, "I know. Every time I work with him, he chopped me in the neck." I said, "I'm 6'8". "How can you chop me in the neck?" And he laughed, you know. You know. I got to work with, like the old timers, S.G. Jones and Tony Atlas. And
What was Tony like,
Tito.
Jeff?
Easy. And just a great guy, smart. God, and his arms are so big. Dude, I'm telling you, he is so big. I'm on this trip. I'm supposed to work with him every night. One of the nights, the ring was so bad, they put this thing down over it, like instead of a canvas, it was like this shiny stuff. And he hit me and he took a bump by accident. He goes, "That's it. Get on me and we're going home." And that was it. That's all he did. He just let me beat him up and keep him down. And then he threw me off the top and then he just splashed me because he didn't want to walk around on this thing anymore. But Tony is great. He used to kid around with make fun with words. He would call his arms bicepuses and his tricepuses, you know what I'm saying? And his chestuses and his waistuses. You know, that's Tony's, you know, gimmick. That's how he talks. It's funny. So I know how to interview, and I say, you know, "This is the Metal Maniac, and I'm the pinnacle of professional wrestling, NWL, right here for the MWR. And I'm just going to tell you one thing right now, Tony Atlas. I know you got the biggest arms in the world. I know that you're a 600-pound bencher. I know that you've been Mr. USA, one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time. But this ain't no bodybuilding contest. This ain't no powerlifting contest. I know you got a 29-inch biceps. I know you got a 72-inch chesses, and I know you got a 22-inch waists, but that don't mean nothing to me." And he's sitting across, and he ran out the room cracking up. Greg Valentine's got a towel over his mouth just to keep from being heard, that because he hears me saying a 79-inch chest assist and a 22-inch waist assist, but that don't mean nothing to me. The Marks didn't know what I was talking about, but they did, and I threw it in as an inside joke. Well, they started cracking up. Greg Valentine said, I know why these guys like you, because, you stand up for yourself, but also that, you're fucking funny and you do a good interview and you do it one take and you're always, animated and funny and you come up with dummy. And I came up, it's Fred Sanford, the TV show, the Sanford and Son, used to call the son dummy. Lamont, hey, dummy. So I started calling people chubby dummies. And then I have a patent on that, chubby dummy and brother, daddy, brother. I have all that. I made all that stuff up because I reinvented what I had heard and redid it. So, I mean, you got guys like Tom Brady, who's Salvatore Sincere, who also does the Patriot gimmick. He's the master gimmick table, and I've worked with him so many times that when he was Johnny Gunn, I worked with him when he was Sal Sincere. I worked with him when he was the Patriot. Just a lot of fun. I worked with Buff Bagwell, which was a lot of fun. And like I said, the Bushwhackers, me and Hercules against the Bushwhackers. The Bushwhackers would call me the metallic one. Come on, you metallic one, get up. Yay, whoa, come on, let's go. And they'd make me get up and they would do that finish with the ramrod and all that stuff. I take the bump, whatever, bump. And then me and Hercules against them too. And then me and Greg against them too when he was going out with Medusa. She was on the card too in Florida. I've been on a lot of shows with Wendy Richter and Leilani Kai, two of the most sweetest, kindest, and most professional female wrestlers that you'll ever know. Wendy Richter's story was just a fantastic, heartbreaking story, and Leilani was just amazing female wrestler. Can out wrestle the guys all day, all night. Fight tough as nails. She had no problems in scrapping. She had no problem. She almost kicked the shit out of. Well, she said she's not proud of this. Obviously not. But one time she got mad at Lex Luger, and she walked right up to him while he's sitting in the seat. Not when he's standing. When he's sitting in the seat, she had him right where she wanted him. She told him, "I can knock your fucking dick off right here." And all the boys were like, because they knew, Leilani, whoa, be careful, man. You better be nice to Leilani, because Leilani's nice. And you push her buttons, man, you're in trouble. And Leilani, and she's so professional too, and she can stretch you in a second. And I mean it. She's no joke. She is no joke. Like I said, just so lucky I've had matches with Hercules, me against him. One night I'm on a show, it's on a rooftop in the Bronx, and the Road Warriors are on it, and it's Kamala and Hercules against the Road Warriors, Double DQ. What's his name was there? The American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream, baby. And he was there, and he was watching the matches. And I had to work with this young kid, and I'm in the gorilla position. I hear my music, but it's a long intro, and I'm I got all the time in the world to get to the ring. And I stop. I seen him, and I stop in front of him, and I turn to him, and I go, "Excuse me, Daddy. I got to go into the ring and pull some teeth, but I'll be back." And he's like, "Go get him, Tiger. I'm watching it." So we went in there. We did our thing, whatever. Nice little match. I controlled the match nice and easy. Boom, boom. Put the kid over, made him look good. Whatever. He's happy. Came back and said, "Damn, I can work every day for the rest of my life. I can work with you." You know, he was just so cool.
Yeah.
I have had another match where I was in Sioux City, Iowa, and the guy asked me to come in early to set up the matches for him, paid me a little bit more. Jimmy was the main event, and he had booked a bunch of guys, and he had booked Nails, Big Kevin, and he was such a great guy, Kevin. He had stayed at the house many times, and I'd known him for many years already at that point on the independents. And he really wanted to work with Jimmy in the main, and I said to him, "Listen," I said, "this is a giant payoff for you. All you have to do is work with a local guy, beat the shit out of him, and then work the battle royal, because I need you to beat the shit out of me, and then throw yourself over the rope so I can work with Jimmy in the main." The promoter said, "Please, I know you want to work with Jimmy, but please, we've been working on this all week long, to put this together. Please let us do this, okay?" And he said, "Okay, that's what you want to do." So everybody works a match. And I put the young kid over, but I'm a heel, and I really heel on the people and him. And he was very, very popular there. Very popular. And he's so popular. So everybody has a match, and Nails gets in the ring with this kid, and he's been drinking. And he can smell it on him, and he's pissed off. And he just eats him up. He just eats him up, and that's what he should have done. Chopped him, kneed him, didn't hurt him. He just ate him up, finished up, and just pinned him and said, "Get the fuck out of here." Because if you're going to come in the room drunk and you could be, I mean, come on. You know what I mean? That's not what you do. Maybe he was nervous, but he should have went to Kevin and said, "Please, can you help?" Like a man, instead of acting like a child and getting drunk and going in there and just trying to, I don't know what's going to happen to me, just try to make it through. That was a mistake on that kid's part. So it comes now to Battle Royal. And then it ends up to be me and him, and I walking backward, and I bump into him. And then I take a step forward, and I slowly turn. But the slower the turn, the more the build-up. The more the build-up. And as I'm turning around, the crowd starts to rumble. And as I turn around to him, I see him, and they pop, and I drop to my knees. I'm like, "No, no, no." And he's like this, and they're going, and he's going, "You want me to?" And he's a heel, but he's like, "You want me to?" And he's doing it as a heel. He's not doing he changes his act. He's doing it as a heel. See, with that face, with the forehead he had, he's like, they're like, "Yeah." Boom, I take a bump, and boom, I take a bump, and I get up slower, and I'm crawling towards him. He picks me up. Boom, take the bump. He goes outside the ring. Here he comes with a chair. I'm like, "Oh no. Oh no. He's going to really clock me with this chair like Tony Stetson, Instead of hitting me with the chair, he lays it out correctly, picks me up, and slams me on the flat chair. But as I'm going down, I'm coming off his shoulders, 7 foot tall, 7'1", 7'2" in my body at that point, because he's 7 foot. I'm like, and he's like this. And as I'm going over, I'm like, oh, Kevin. And wham, you know, he gives me this power slam. And then he puts me against the rope. And he punches me. And he really, I mean, he didn't punch me in the face, but he really kind of tagged me. I was like, oh, shit. And I see this giant running away from me. Two leaps, he hits the rope. Not like 4 for regular size guys. 1, 2, hits the rope. And this is a big ring. 1, 2, and as I turn, I just pull the rope down. And he goes flying over. The chair is still in the middle of the ring. The fake cops come down and tell him to get out. And I took the chair, I opened it up, I sat down in it, and I'm hanging out of it like this. And they say, and his opponent. And they stood up. And here comes Jimmy. But I told the referee before Jimmy came out, run up to Jimmy and tell him, pick up exactly where Nails left off, which was what Jimmy taught me a few years prior to that overseas. So the referee runs up there, and I told the referee, just tell Jimmy, leave his gear on just to get in here and hit me and take off his clothes bit by bit. And that's what he did. He came up, and I got up, I folded the chair and threw it out of the ring because I was not letting Jimmy hit me with that fucking chair because he was not going to hold back. And those headshots, oh, no. I wasn't putting my hands up. I wasn't ducking. Oh, no. I folded it. I threw it out the other side. And he gets in, and I walk up to him, and boom, he kicks me. Bang, he punched me. And I'm like, no, begging off. And he starts to take off his jacket slow. And he's flexing. Come on. He kicks me again. Boom. Then he takes off his lava, and he puts it over there on the side. Then boom, he kicks me again. Then he puts his flip-flops over to the side. And then we had this match back and forth. And finally, we're like 3/4 through. I figured we're going to do the whole thing. And the next thing you know, he says, we're gone. I grabbed his leg, and I'm like, no, keep going. He's like, you've had enough. You've had enough. I'm like, brother, please. He goes, you've had enough. And he went up to the top, took a big splash. I pull the ambulance card. I tell the referee again, this time I can't feel my legs. I do it again because I'm in another town altogether. So nobody's seen it yet. So we do the same thing. Jimmy knows what's going on. None of the other guys do. George Steele was there with one of the Vachon brothers. And as they rolled me by, I was like hanging off the thing looking at them. And they just didn't sell it. They didn't sell it. So I get down the hallway and I take the shit off of me and I sign the papers. They leave and I go into the locker room. George Steele looked around. He walked over to me, put his hand on my shoulder, and he said, hey, kid, you worked your ass off tonight. I said, thank you so much. That was a big compliment.
I was going to say the ultimate compliment, man. Guy like George Steele saying that to you.
Yeah, because he really was a booker and an agent and a thinking, a psychological type wrestler because he had a gimmick. He wasn't using wrestling. He was using his gimmick. So he had a way of looking at it, and he could see I was not using a wrestler gimmick. I was using a gimmick, just a gimmick. The only other, I've had compliments from guys, but I'll tell you the most, other than from Jimmy, obviously, and from Barbarian and all the people that really, Tito gave me some compliments on my work over the years. He came up to me, I think it was August of 2017. We worked the show and we came back and he goes, look. I'm like, what happened? He goes, no, look. I'm looking. I'm like, I don't know what to look for. What am I looking for? He goes, no sweat. I didn't sweat. I didn't sweat with you. I did not sweat with you. Nothing. Everything was just, you called it all. We just did it. It was perfect. Fantastic. Thank you. So those are nice compliments, but I think the nicest compliment I ever got, I think, was Jim Cornette was booking for Dennis Coralluzzo. Dennis Coralluzzo had NWA New Jersey, who got screwed over big time. But those guys were really good friends. And I love Dennis. We all love Dennis. All the young guys who wrestled for Dennis shows. I gave Dennis the idea of, look, let me go out and get tables for people to buy to be at your show. Let me organize that. I'll pay for my gas and everything else. We split everything down the middle, and I'll do my own printing. We split the gas, we split the car, and everything else is fine. I said, okay. So we did it, and we really did a fine job at putting a show together. He had his girls working for him, and his daughter worked for him, and his son working for him. And then I was out, doing a fundraiser because he had the local Knights of Columbus that was involved with it. So, you're trying to raise money because the Knights, they go out to Toys for Tots. They do stuff for children, for the homeless. They make food for them and buy food and cook food. So it was one of those deals. And I was working with this guy, Gino Caruso, really nice guy, great guy out of the Northeast. He's a trainer he's the ECPW1.com, but ECPW, East Coast Championship, East Coast Pro Wrestling. And he's been there as long as I've been around, and then some. And Rocky Jones was the guy who ran it before that, but then, Gino took it over. And Mr. Italy, Gino Caruso. And I was working with him, and Dennis said, listen, put the Metal Maniac over. He's been working his ass off all week here, all month here, and he did good for us. We were able to pay all the bills with just our half, and the rest of the monies that we made for the show, our profits. So when we were able to still give the percentage that was promised to, the Knights for, using their name to raise funds. And everybody was happy. And I said to Jim Cornette, I said, don't put me over. He's like, don't put you over. Dennis wants to put you over. I said, listen, if you put me over, it's going to dud. But if Gino goes over, everybody's happy. Good guys, bad guys, winners and losers. It doesn't help me to go over. It ruins my heat. It ruins it because you can't take my heat. I could lose every night and still get heat because I work psychological wrestling. And then you have, Mr. Italy, who's a wrestler, but he can also do psychological wrestling. And I said, look, he's a babyface. You're going to kill his gimmick. Why kill his gimmick? You don't need to. And you don't need to put me over. And he said to me, I know we don't really know each other that well, and I don't even know whether I like you or not. He said, but what you just said was the most correct thing I've ever heard in this business. And if our business thought the way you just said, we'd be in such a much better place in wrestling. So that was a big deal. I have two other ones, though. The other ones were really sweet, where Ricky the Dragon Steamboat was a special guest referee in a match with me and Jimmy, and I started getting under his skin a little bit on purpose to get him excited. I start pushing him, pointing my finger at him, moving my hand away, and I start doing it. I said, listen, so I'll kick your ass, old man. I'm telling you right now, his eyeballs popped out of his head, So then the finish comes, and he's involved in it. Jimmy tells him, double chop me, but double chop me, and bang, you backbreaker, mama splash him, count him fast. So he just goes on the fly. Jimmy, he knows, Steamboat knows what to do. He's listening. So boom, boom, that happens. Double chop. They both double chop. He picks me up, backbreakers me, tells Jimmy, go to the top. Gets down to those Jimmy's fingers. Then fucking Jimmy splashes me. And he gets down there 1, 2, 3 instead of doing like what he was doing, the whole match, right? So at the beginning of the night, I spoke to him, said, how are you, sir? Nice to meet you. I have it pretty much done. We're talking to Jimmy, and he sees that Jimmy's listening, so he's going to listen. But I asked him instead of Jimmy, I said, brother, I'd like to go from here to there. Can you help me get there? He said, sure, do this, do that. But once I got him in there, I really started like poke him in his chest. And he didn't like it. He didn't like it. But at the end, he went in and he told Jimmy, he said, brother, what are you kidding me? I taught this kid. He's just having fun with you. He loves you. He's like, really? So when I came in, he goes, you had me, kid. God damn it, you had me. Which is a big deal because to have Ricky the Dragon say you were pissed at him or you were looking to get cute. He thought I was trying to get cute, like, you know, and take advantage of him in the ring. He did. He told me. And another one, at the end, he was hugging me. Another one was Ken Patera. Ken Patera was doing talking in 1995 at this thing that is on the internet. You could buy it, which is free, but I show you where it's free. It's something called Grandmasters of Wrestling 2. It was in the dollar bins at the Walmart. It was the highest, not grossing, but highest selling wrestling DVD in the history of wrestling. And it still is. It's in the Guinness Book of World Records. And it was in the dollar bin, and I'm working against Jimmy. But if you go to YouTube and you just go all one word, no capitals, no spaces, just 808 Metal Maniac, you will, or Metal Maniac versus Jimmy Snuka. And you're going to see part 1 and part 2. Well, that's the match without the openings. So, you know, because that guy made tapes of us and never had a release to sell them. So none of us got a penny. And they were all sold in the dollar store, in the dollar bins. So if you would have got a penny, it would have been a lot. You know, Crowbar was in there as Devin Storm when he first started. He was like in the opening match
of Crowbar.
So Crowbar from WCW, you know, Chris. You know, but that was when he was like 16, 17 years old. He was wrestling his match. You know, that. So Ken Patera, I keep coming back to him. And I keep yelling at him. And I keep on him. And every time I do something that Jimmy says, I keep coming back to him. And you can hear him on the microphone saying, hey, Maniac, if you keep poking your finger in my face, there's nothing in between me and you and opportunity. Because I will take this bell and crack it right over your head. And he was getting annoyed because I kept coming over and I kept getting closer to him. And then I kind of like pushed the table in on him and was leaning over at him. And he stood up. He said, what do you think? You're a tough guy? That's what he said to me. And I'm off the mic, but I could hear him. I said, oh, I'm your worst nightmare. Now he's livid. He's livid. He's absolutely livid. So when I go to lose the match, I go into that corner, I go up to the top and I'm yelling at him and he's standing up, giving me the up you sign. Jimmy grabs me, throws me off, and he does a flying crossbody because that ring really was the shits. And, you know, so they're all done. It's the last match. Ken Patera's in the back. Jimmy's in the back. Ken Patera goes to Jimmy and said, I'm going to punch this kid in the face as soon as he walks in the door. He goes, brother, what are you talking about? This kid's been working you the whole time. He says, I thought so at first, but when he shoved the table into my chest, he said, brother, he's like, I'm telling you, this kid is not that. When you see him, you're going to know I teached him everything that he knows. And I walked in, Ken Patera was right there with open arms with a big smile on his face. He's like, kid, God damn it, you had me when you shoved the table into my chest. He says, I really was going to crack you with that bell if you came 1 inch closer. I wasn't messing around. I was going to crack you one. I'm telling you. He said, but Jimmy told me it's a gimmick and that you were trying to get me my reaction because you always loved me when I used to do the strongman things he put his back against the wall and they had a van burnout, with his feet holding, and then they hit the front brake and did the rear burnouts. I don't know if you remember those videos when he was a kid. When I was a kid, you were probably a little baby yet. But like I said, I've been very fortunate. Been very fortunate. Been in all the magazines. Been all over the world, and had a lot of great fun. And the Iron Sheik. You go down the road, and me and Jimmy and Sheiky, baby, and they want a 12-pack each because they're going to get loaded driving home, and I'm not. And so Sheiky said he's going to go in. I said, Sheik, respect. I'm the young guy. I respect. I'll go get it. He goes, no, Bubba. I'll get it. So he goes in the bar. I'm waiting 5, 10, 15 minutes. Jimmy goes, all right, go get him. Jimmy knew he was going in there to do an autograph session, make enough money for the 2 12-packs. And he made like $150 and bought 2 12-packs. He'd have his bag. Oh, you'd want a picture of me and Arnold Schwarzenegger? Look, Bubba. He said, had the picture of him and Cyndi Lauper and Arnold. He said, look at Sheik's neck, baby. Whose neck is bigger, Arnold or Sheiky, baby? Look how big Sheiky baby's neck. And he's just so great. Kaiser, I haven't seen in a long time. His daughter was murdered by a son of a bitch. Poor guy, but loved him. He stayed at my house many times.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I've been so fortunate. I worked with Bruno Sammartino's son David.
Yeah,
with Bruno in his corner, and David's like, listen, how do you want to go over? I said, no, what are you talking about? You're David Sammartino. You're going over. What's wrong with you? He goes, yeah, but I've been out for so long. I'm like, David, you are David Sammartino. Are you kidding me? Give me a break. He's like, really? I said, your father's going to be right there in the corner. Are you going to lose a match? I said, there's always a way to do it, and make it look right. I said, no. The people came to see you beat me, and you're going to beat me. He said, but I haven't done this in so long. I said, brother, I'm going to do it all for you. And so we had to finish where I kept on working in Bruno and kept on working Bruno and kept on working Bruno. And Bruno would distract the referee because he kept getting up on the rope. And I'd keep kicking the kid in the balls instead of headbutting him. And then the heat was on the referee, and it started to get hotter and hotter and hotter. I spit up in the air towards Bruno, not at him, but up in the air so he can move out of the way. He moves out of the way and pops up. As soon as he pops up, I charge him. He jumps down, and I spring off, and the kid rolls me up 1, 2, 3, rolls out with his dad, sells it all the way to the locker room. And his father and the son were waiting for me in the back, and they said, damn it, that was really great, kid. You're in the business 20 years too late. You should have came in the 70s. I'm like, yeah, well, I was 10. Yeah, in the 70s, I was 10. I was going 10 and 20. I was 10 to 20. There's the 70s. So, come on, man. I was a kid. I was like, 10 years old, and I was watching you. I will tell you that one time I saw superstar Billy Graham when I was a kid, and he walked by me. I never knew humans could get that big. And I put my hand on his bicep, and a cop moved my arm. And I could still feel the pipe of his arm in my hand right here. And I got to meet him. And I said, superstar. I said, you are the man. He goes, no, I used to be. I go, no. I never knew humans could be as big as you. I said it when you walked by me and I was 9.5, and I put my hand on your arm. I said, brother, I could still feel that giant pipe right here. And he looked at me and he hugged me and he goes, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Because, he was devastated what they did to him. he was devastated, and it's a shame because I can't. In real life, I couldn't believe that he could be beat by Bob Backlund. I thought Bob Backlund was a good middle of the card guy, good tag team guy, that kind of thing. I think they could have kept him going a long time with no belts because people loved him, but they didn't love him that much. And even when they gave him the belt, they still had to have Superstar on the card to support the card because they weren't drawing without him. So that was a mistake. That was just, I guess, Vince Sr. just saying, I'm not going to be wrong and I won't be wrong and I just can't do it. And I wish Daddy would have pulled a double cross and made Bruno stay another couple of months because that would have changed history. That would have changed the history of the business, but they didn't. But they talked about it for like a minute. But like I said, I mean, that's fortunate. It's fortunate.
Jeff,
everything that's happened to me. Yeah.
Jeff, do you see any of the modern wrestling, or do you not watch it at all?
The last time I watched it was, I would say, 2005, 2008. I did catch a couple of matches here and there when The Rock would do a return, or Stone Cold was doing something special, or Triple H in a main event, or The Undertaker, watch one match, something like that. But I never watched a full card because I could see where things were going. I could tell from looking in people's eyes they were reading or they didn't know, they were lost. I could tell from the matches that they weren't using psychology, and I could hear from people that really were deep into the business that the numbers were sagging, and they kept sagging, and they had been sagging, and now they're sagging so low that a company that has no idea what to do with $35 billion, and they're nice gentlemen, I'm sure. I mean, if they knew anything about the business, don't you think I'd be doing color commentating? So they don't know about the business. They don't. They think they know. They have been doing well compared to a dead horse. That's not saying much. If WWE was to actually put it back together, then you'd have some real, maybe you'd have some TV wars. But as of right now, wrestling in front of people with nobody there is stupid. My suggestion would be, I would tell Fox to buy everything. I would tell Fox to bring in all the small promoters. I'd tell the smallest guys that if they don't get licensed by a state to be a school, you can't be a school. And then there's other guys that are running schools that are, superb schools without that. But I want everybody to have insurance. I want everybody to be connected. And I want the one company to help the next company and move the guys through the business, start to breed the business again and return it back. But in the meantime, while COVID is going, my idea was, and I spoke to my friend as an executive for Fox, and I said to him, what you should do is buy everything and then stop doing these stupid shows. Do what I just said, collect everybody, and then I would air the tapes that Vince owns that you'll buy that were the 1980s and reteach all the wrestling fans what wrestling really is. If you lose, I said, you take the ECW films and set them on fire. And third, if you lose 1% of what's out there, who cares? Because the superficial wrestling fan is going to surge, which is where your money is. And you're buying everything, yes, at a large expense, but within 5 years, you're looking at really making a profit. 10 years, it's serious business. In 20 years, you don't need for nothing. You'll never have to air a football, a basketball, anything again. But you can't do what was done before. You can't bring somebody in that's going to hire their friends that really can't draw so well and vacuum out all the money because it'll be dead like WCW. I mean, if Ted Turner got sucked out of it, then you know that these are things that you don't do again. And so I told my friend, I said, look, I pitched it to him and I said, look, bring it to the top guys and tell them, look, you know, I know who everybody is. I know who to bring in for these 2 TVs. And I would get rid of everybody that's in the office. I'd get rid of all the writers, and I would retrain all the wrestlers to be able to go in and do the first, the ending, and do it all out there and know how to talk. And if they can't, put them with someone like me or someone who can talk very well, who could be their mouthpiece. And many an excellent talent has had a mouthpiece and made money, and some didn't need one, like Superstar, and had a talent with him and still made money. So, you know, it can all be done, but they got to be in it for the long haul, not for 2 years or 3 years. And I explained that to him. I said, look, Vince is older. He's jaded. So Triple H is, for the business, older. He could do the business, but the thing is, he knows that what it's going to take to reteach, and he doesn't want to go through the spending of the money and the time. He's waiting for the right time to sell, you know, his portion. And then whatever company will be beholden to whoever is a shareholder. But I told him he should buy all the shareholders out, get rid of them, because the content is limited. And you can do whatever the hell you want when you want it. And you don't have to answer. I said, even if it costs you money, it doesn't matter. You guys are made of money. Well, not anymore. We're losing money on this and that. I said, yeah, but I said, but between the facility that you have, the buildings that you have connections to, and the audio visual group that you have, you know, you're gonna still pay them their wage, but they're gonna sit home because you're gonna reteach the people. And then you're going to saturate the thing, and then you're going to start to introduce a new TV show, and that's when your guys will come back on. I said, and, you know, but you got to keep them on the payroll. You can't, you know, just dump them. You can't do that. You got to take the loss because you're going to make it later. I said, and you use a 200-year-old formula. The formula they're using is not the proper wrestling formula. And they're saying things like storytellers. I'm sorry. Yes, we can tell a story, but we are professional wrestlers. But they don't want to say that because now you got the athletic commission looking for their money. I mean, it's just a. And so, like I said, I don't watch. Mm-hmm. I don't watch.
I just want to ask you.
I know. I just know a couple of guys, maybe. Like the Hardys, I know them from seeing them and meeting them in the Carolinas. Do I know them? Absolutely. The redheaded girl who broke her neck, that sweet kid that used to go out with one of them, or was married to one of them.
Lisa.
I forget her name. What was her name?
Lisa. Amy Dumas.
Lita. Yeah,
Amy Dumas.
I knew her when she was just in her early teens. You know what I'm saying? I knew her, you know, for early teens. So, you know, there's certain people that I know. But outside of that, I mean, you know, I see these guys on TV. I mean, I know who Samoa Joe is because he's one of the Samoans, and I know the Samoans, all of them. I've never met Joe, but I know all of them. And the only Samoan I never met on the other side was Joseph, Roman Reigns.
Yeah,
but I know his brother Reno. Obviously, I've worked with Sika, his father. But other than that, I mean, I know. You know, if I met John, I knew his brother Matthew, and him and I were very close. So I could imagine I could be very good friends with John really quick. But you know, Dewey knows me. You know, knows me by name. He knows me as Jeff. He doesn't know me as the Maniac. He doesn't know me like that. But he knows that his grandmother. She told him that we were very close and that she loved me very much, and that's all he had to hear, you know, because there's a lot of haters in the business, and they said this and that. He goes, why do people hate you? I said, I don't know, brother. They're jealous. I was with Uncle Jimmy. They're jealous of this. You're jealous of that. It's the worst poison ever. I said, but you obviously know you spoke to your grandmother. He goes, oh, yeah, she told me. You guys was close. She loves you, loves you, loves you. She told me that. So, I know all the Samoan guys, but, it's just, it's just a mess. It's just a mess, and they could fix it. Shut it down, gather everybody together, put on old tapes that are proven, reteach and re-educate the people, saturate the territory for a year, start to include some of these new people and start to do interviews, and teach them psychology. So this way, you don't have somebody in the first match doing 4 finishes from the 80s and never cover the guy and then pick him up and do some more work. No. You have to know when to go. You have to know, even if you've planned on it being longer, you have to know when to go. And they're not doing any of that. They're not using, seriously, you heard my opening. I just came up with it on the spot. Mm-hmm. They don't have people who aren't that. They have guys that want to be pro wrestlers, but don't have that. You have to have that. I can't teach you that. But I can teach you if you talk well, but you're not dialed in. For example, if I'm going to talk about Tony Atlas, I don't just get up there and say, Tony Atlas, I'm the Metal Maniac. I'm going to beat you and beat you. No. I said, Tony Atlas, he got a 27-inch bicep, a 72-inch chest, a 29-inch waist, and he's been the United States champion. He's been the Mr. USA. He's been a big bodybuilder. He was an amateur wrestler in high school, but nothing to do with amateur wrestling, bodybuilding, powerlifting, or anything else you can think of is going to happen in that ring. Because when I get you in that ring, I'm not going to wrestle you. I'm going to attack you. And I know you've been in fights, but have you ever been attacked? Remember, there are 5 elements in the world: earth, water, fire, wood, and steel. But my Sifu told me there's one more. Surprise. Get ready. It's the Metal Maniac. They don't have anybody who could do that. And that's dumb stuff. I just did that on having some fun with you. Mm-hmm. If there was a real angle, I could really get into it. There's one interview I put up there under 808 Metal Maniac, all one word, no caps, no spaces, on YouTube, 808 Metal Maniac. There's one, or under the Jeff Miller channel, which is just, I posted one interview where it's a white wall behind me and I'm a side view and I'm doing one for Rikishi. Brother, I did this interview. When it was done, there was 30 people in the room and there was 30 people applauding. 30 people applauding. And I sent it to Junior, who's Rikishi, and he said, "Brother, man, those are WWE interviews, brother, man." He said, "Post that." I said, "You sure it's okay? I can say those things about you, that you this and that, but I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and you don't wrestle a Samoan, and I'm going to tore some of my hair out and hung it up in front of the thing so they could see my hair dripping down." And I'm like, the question is, I said, I've survived Sika. I survived the Great Samu. I've survived the Superfly. But the question is not if I'm going to survive you. The question is, are you going to survive me? Metal Maniac. See, but that wasn't what I did. That's something new I just did.
Yeah,
I just did that now.
On the fly.
Now, but there's a guy. His name is the Metal Man's Monster. He can do anything the Undertaker can do. He's 7 foot straight up. He can walk the ropes. He can dive over the ropes onto the guys. He can go through the ropes. He can go over the ropes. He can do up, backwards, over the top, and let Sid stand on his feet like the Undertaker and Big Sid used to do. He can do all of those things. All of those things. The chokeslam, the tombstone, all of it. But when you hear his interview, he tends to just go in and say, I'm going to beat you and this and that. Now, he has a manager who talks really well, and he's got this goofy look. It's fantastic, and it's creepy, and it's perfect. But if he didn't have the manager, I would still teach him to build the guy up, say, yeah, you're this, you're that, but I'm the Meadowlands monster. I'm 7 foot tall. I'm 330 pounds, and I'm still lean. My shoe is a 19, and I promise you, you're a great wrestler. But what I'm going to do to you is put my foot right down your stinking throat. You know why? And you know why? Because I am the Meadowlands monster. And say it, brother. And then this guy comes out. That's right. He's like look at every day is Halloween in my house. So I look like this every day. But you see this one guy, he's got his hair sprayed in different like things sticking out, and his eyes are all made up, and he talks like he's the creepy kind of dude with the, the chiller. He talks like that. I mean, these two are great, and they should have a shot. But meantime, there's nowhere to go because they're all wrestling to nobody, and they're killing it. They're just killing it. I mean, just killing it. And I wish somebody would listen to me. Like I said, I called my friend. He's I wouldn't say the highest level, but I would say he is about 3/4 to about 85% up there in, special events and, for Fox Sports. And, he's in control of quite a bit. He's got a 3-year deal. But I told him, I said, you need this. If they do it, they know who to call to make sure their filter is good. They need to have a filter so I can tell them, listen, they're trying to hire their friends who can't draw. We can't do that. Oh, okay. Please don't do that. Let's not do. Oh, okay. Because otherwise you let them run and you don't know. Like all the bookers and all the writers, the agents, I love them. I'd put them on a pension, but I would not have them doing anything. I would have guys like me from the 90s, the Pitbulls, being the agents for the guys from the 80s, which were 70s guys, but their money cherries were in the 80s. And build it from there. And build it from there. We teach the people, what it is to be a wrestler fan. And then don't forget now, I know that, look, Dave Meltzer's a nice man, and he loves the business. And at the same time, he did try to make a living on this, but the thing is he helped open the door to a very difficult monster to kill. It can be done, but you need an infrastructure and the kind of money that Fox has, where they can absorb losses and turn it around, because of the formula is 200 years old. The formula works. But what I've got is a formula with no formula tires. And all I got to do is put the formula tires back on. And I can easily do that by showing videos of all these guys and what wrestling should be. So by the time we break out this new product, the work rate is correct. Not everybody you see, the first thing they do is grab a wrist. And the first 3 matches I saw on one night, grab the wrist. Next one, grab the wrist. Next one, grab the wrist. So don't you watch the match on before you? Don't you see, as the heel, you're supposed to watch to see? Why would you have 2 tests of strength in one show? But that happens if you don't friggin' pay attention to what's going on. If you're not professionally taught. If someone doesn't say, hey, bro, man, keep your eyes on what's going on. Because I want to know if someone's trying to do our shit, or maybe they're going to do something that we already planned on, but we can't do it now because they're doing it. So you're not supposed to go, hey, don't do that. We're doing it. You know, it's supposed to say, you know, on the wall, and then there's a little bit of a discussion. Hey, you know, put Jimmy over, but put him over the second one. You're going to go over the first one, and Jimmy's going to do the blade for you. What? Okay, we're going to match two matches in one day in Canada, and Jimmy's going to, yeah, but when you're done, you got to, for Jimmy. I said, oh, okay. And we did, and it was great. It was great. It was at one of the buildings that the guy Hannibal from Hannibal TV grew up going to shows to. And I was one of the guys when he was like 10, 11. You know, he was going over to the shows to see what was there, and I was there. Plus there was other shows with Perry Saturn and Triple H and China before they were China, and before she was China and all that. And, you know, and I was in this crew of guys on the East Coast that would go up there. You know, so there was a lot of, you know, there's a lot of good things, you know. But like I said, you know, I just been so fortunate. You know, I can go on,
Jeff.
I can go on and on forever.
Jeff, we could do this over 4 episodes. All the stories you've got, man. Thank you so much. Thanks for getting the makeup on and everything and doing this today.
No worries. I wanted the people to see me, not just a picture, brother. Wanted to get it full view. Ladies and gentlemen, zoom in, baby, because you are looking at the voice of pro wrestling. And these dummies who got money, who don't call me because they're letting some other guy who sounds like JR work or whatever. Now you give me a break. I know this business in and out. You put me in there, I'd be the next Jesse. It's time for a change. It's time to give somebody a few dollars for a spot to earn a living, take care of their family, who can talk this good. Brother, daddy, brother, can you imagine it? Man, it would be like, wow.
Flying the flag for the UK from rugby, this is Evade Escape with their single, Already Know.
This episode is brought to you in association with Powered 4 TV, so go and check them out for anything wrestling related, old events, new events when we come out of COVID, podcasts, you name it, it's all there at Powered 4 TV, so find them across social media.